Alright, let's start with the scoop on the prestigious Cardanis family, the sword that protects the vast Arcadian Empire. Their military power is no joke. Being a hardcore military group, these guys ensure the continent's peace, split up among 7 knightly orders. The strength of this crew is so insane that they could take on an entire nation without breaking a sweat. But the real elite of the elite is the famous Golden Dragon Order, made up only of the family's direct bloodline. With their blonde hair and golden eyes, these descendants have the pure blood and boast some seriously bizarre power. Literally carrying dragon's blood in their veins, the Order's name already tells you how strong these folks are. In this competitive scene, the young ones gather to awaken the supernatural traits that come from this powerful lineage. Even the people from the branch families are in the mix, always fighting to push their limits and earn a spot. Right on the training grounds, the gloves come off as everyone tests their combat skills. Wasting no time, a cocky blonde dude shows up, dominating the fight with a smug grin plastered on his face. Trading fierce blows, he deflects a girl's attack with ridiculous ease. The impact of the counter attack sends the girl flying while the guy remains untouched. Shaking in her boots, she backs away, realizing the dude's strength is on another level. Totally in shock, she mutters that she can't believe it, because she thought she and number 4 could handle him together. But looking down, her so-called partner is already defeated and falling apart in the blink of an eye. Trying to resist no matter what, the girl grits her teeth, holding her sword with her last bit of strength. But panic sets in, and she instantly understands she doesn't stand a chance of winning. Suddenly, the guy appears out of nowhere, delivering a swift strike, and she screams in desperation that she can't even read his movements. The blonde dude scoffs, asking if this is all the direct descendants have to offer. Faced with pure humiliation, the girl drops to her knees as he coldly tells them they're no match for him. Calling the two of them trash from the branch families, the arrogant guy throws it in their faces that they're too weak to even be a challenge. To put an end to the squabble, the blonde dude declares himself the grand winner of the selection. While this is all going down, back at the main base of the Young Dragon Order, the vibe is more bureaucratic. From their cushy seats, the big shots watch the beatdown on a large screen, commenting on the impressive level of this year's newbies. Getting to the main point, Commander Fabian asks who among them deserves to receive the special grade. Promptly, the other officer replies that, despite the varied talents, there's only one guy with the perfect qualifications. The screen then focuses on number 1, William Cardenas, emerging clean and unscathed from that double ambush. Continuing the military gossip, the bearded man remembers that numbers 2 and 4, who got beaten, were also from the direct lineage. But the harsh reality of the situations is that the branch families have been practically wiped out in the exam. In the middle of the dense forest, there's nothing left but bodies strewn about and people passed out everywhere. Agreeing with the bleak scene, Fabian points out that on that training field, the numbers on their chests are the only indicators of strength. In other words, wearing number 1 means you're the ultimate monster among hundreds of trained students. So, it's pretty obvious that putting the top of the food chain in the special grade doesn't require much discussion. Without any beating around the bush, the paperwork verbally begins to be prepared to officially place William in the spot. But out of nowhere, another officer tells the meeting to hold up and asks to speak, wearing a mysterious expression. According to his analysis, there's an unusual member from the branch families drawing attention, and it would be a good idea to check out the kid's skills first. Revealing the target of the gossip, the guy says the prodigy is number 25. Pondering the rules of the game, Fabian understands that the branch family members can also build up strength and rise in the ranks. However, the commander thinks this number 25 is still far below the level expected to get any recognition. At that exact moment, the monitor shows our MC his back to us, facing down the arrogant number 1 in the middle of the woods. With his name finally revealed to the top brass, we find out this beast is Leonard Cardenas. Strutting with confidence and shattering expectations, the system announces that the kid jumped from position 381 straight to the top 25 in an incredibly short time. Utterly dumbfounded by the data, the officers nearly fall out of their chairs, telling the commander to look at the live feed. Not believing what they're seeing on the bright screen, they shout that the kid is about to go head-to-head with number 1 himself. Face to face, the tension becomes incredibly heavy as William stares down our MC, already oozing that superior tone. With that annoying, cynical little laugh, the blonde dude compliments our MC's courage, but warns him he's not in the mood to go easy if he wants to back out. With his feet firmly on the ground and the posture of someone who knows what they're doing, our boy replies that's great to hear. Unfazed by the enemy's attitude, our MC declares with fire in his eyes that he won't be holding back his own strength either. Irritated by the sheer audacity, number 1 summons a violent aura, telling the trash to draw his sword and learn a lesson. Sizing up his opponent, our MC realizes that the number 1 emblem isn't just for show. The guy's energy is way different from the other extras. With a confident smirk, he pulls the wooden weapon from his shoulder, ready to test his new limits. Taking charge of the fight, the kid provokes his enemy, telling him to bring it on and see how long he can last. Without wasting a single second, our MC shoots off like a missile, cutting through the wind toward his opponent. With the same level of hatred, the blonde dude furiously yells that he's going to crush our MC along with that little trainee sword. The brutal clash between the two generates an explosion of aura that rips through the forest, kicking up smoke everywhere. Exchanging sparks of pure raw energy, the blades collide with an impact worthy of fully fledged knights. Because of this insane collision, both warriors are dragged backward, tearing up the earth with their shoes. Our MC quickly plants his feet in the dirt and adjusts his stance to continue the macabre dance. Shocked beyond belief, our boy looks at his own weapon, trembling, unable to believe the kid's power. Stunned by the impossible situation, Number 1 mutters that his sword shouldn't be shaking so much against a mere low-class trainee. While his enemy tries to figure out what just happened, our MC is already on his feet, cloaked in an intimidating golden aura. Immediately after, the exchange resumes at a frantic pace, with the two trading attacks and defenses at a speed the eyes can barely follow. Back in the comfort of HQ, a woman on the council notes with admiration that the MC's sword style is an extremely rare technique. Agreeing with his colleague, the other officer points out that the kid is deflecting attacks with minimal force, without wasting any energy. Cool as a cucumber in the middle of the storm of blows, our MC defends everything with a smile, not even bothering to launch a counterattack. Losing his mind over the silent humiliation, the rich kid calls our guy a pest for just dodging. With an insane blue energy covering his entire body, the enemy scoffs, yelling if running away is the only thing the MC knows how to do right. Going all out to end the game, Number 1 unleashes a ridiculous spinning attack, cutting the air in a deadly arc. But showing off some seriously cheap agility, our protagonist dodges the slice at the perfect moment, slipping under the blade. The impact of the blue strike misses completely and hits the grass, opening a giant gash and sending dirt flying. Blinded by pure rage, William intensifies the blue power, his face set with the desire to rip the kid's head off. In a furious vertical strike, the bluish blade comes down with full force in a charge that would split boulders in half. With the calm of a monk, our MC just takes a small step back in his boot and lets the heavy attack pass right by his face. Chilling in the middle of the dust, the kid even has the audacity to praise the raw power of his rival's strike. Gritting his teeth with so much built-up hatred, the blonde dude yells that our MC has a big mouth for someone who only knows how to run around the battlefield. Firm in his stance, our MC tells the rich kid to fight seriously for once. With an agile leap, the boy escapes the charge and puts some distance between them on the terrain. Mentally, our MC admits that his enemy's power is no small thing, and his judgment is impressive too. However, it soon becomes clear that something is still missing from the arrogant blondie's fundamentals. Advancing like a lightning bolt, our hero prepares a devastating counter-attack without giving him a chance to breathe. In that threshold between life and whatever comes next, the boy's combat sense screams louder in his mind. Staring his rival down up close, our MC declares that this is the rich kid's absolute limit. Totally in shock, Number 1's eyes go wide, not understanding a single thing that's happening. Hit directly by the words and the pressure, the cocky kid is thrown backward, grumbling in pure rage. From the hidden audience, the extras freak out, questioning how Number 25 is going toe-to-toe with the best in the class. With their jaws on the floor, the crowd comments that the kid seems like a completely different person all of a sudden. At an absurd speed, the hero becomes practically a blur, tearing through the wind amidst the dust. Furious and cornered, Number 1 curses loudly for losing sight of his target on the battlefield. Appearing silently behind his rival, our boy elicits a scream of panic from his opponent. Yelling that it's impossible, the blonde dude freaks out, trying to understand how some random trash has so much built-up speed. With a cold look, our MC states bluntly that the great Number 1 has lost the fight, big time. Delivering a colossal upward slash, our hero launches his enemy into the air in a golden whirlwind. Spitting blood and with his clothes torn, the ex-champion plummets, defeated, to the dirt ground. Standing there, the kid reflects that winning this fight would have been completely impossible for his past self. But now that all his old memories have returned, the game has drastically changed. Rewinding the tape in his brain, his mind goes back to the time when he was known as the Sword Emperor named Ren. In those glorious days, this legendary man had reached the absolute peak of the way of the blade. With raw power, the old master would slice through colossal mountains with just the force of his own swing. Still unsatisfied with everything, the warrior decided to challenge the feared Heavenly Demon himself to a duel. For days on end, this insane battle tore through the skies without stopping for a single minute to breathe. All that brutality in combat transcended any limit imposed on mere common mortals. The damage was so absurd that the exchange of blows rewrote the geography of the entire region, creating abyssal craters. Right after so much destruction, the result of the clash was finally revealed in the thick smoke. Under a blood-red sky, the great emperor falls, devastated to the ground, with no strength to get up. Unable to accept the beating, The warrior whispers that he doesn't understand how he lost when his swordsmanship was considered perfect. Bleeding heavily from his wounds, he questions why his blade couldn't even scratch the demon in the fight. With a grim smile on his face, the great villain replies that the hero is missing the basic foundation to understand true strength. In the victor's view, the defeated great emperor never truly understood the hidden essence of wielding a weapon. By focusing only on reaching the top, this lack of foundation became the fatal flaw that cost him his entire life. Hearing the hard truth, the silver-haired man laughs weakly, finding that insult about fundamentals to be the biggest cliché of all time. Without any mercy, the Master of Darkness mocks him, saying it was useless for a mere street dog to try and bite the Supreme Master. Leaving a final warning, he decrees that Ren's legend ends there in total humiliation. But showing a shred of respect for his courage, the villain tells his rival to rest in peace forever in the darkness. As his body gives way to the open cuts, the former hero collapses in the dust, his heavy eyes closing. Consumed by regret, the warrior laments that the end came too quickly, and wishes he had one more chance to fix his mistake. Reaching a trembling hand upward, he tries to grasp the last bit of hope slipping through his blood-stained fingers. In that last breath, his mind only focuses on wondering if a divine blade could one day truly reach the top. And so, the ancient legend perishes right there, paving the way for a new beginning in a completely unlikely place. Snapping back to reality in the middle of the night, the academy kids crowd around to check if our boy is alive. Sucking in a violent breath, our MC wakes with a start, his eyes wide, breaking out in a cold sweat. Pushing himself up quickly from the stone floor, the blonde kid blinks, trying to understand what the heck just happened. With sweat pouring down his face, the kid mutters tiredly that he had that same bizarre nightmare again. Just then, the local bullies walk up, laughing loudly that they thought trash number 380. One had already kicked the bucket. Still a bit dazed, our boy looks up as the leader of the idiots gets ready to continue the nightly beatdown. Throwing a punch straight at his face, the extra yells furiously, demanding respect for the scare our MC gave them by playing possum. In a purely instinctual reflex, our hero's hand shoots up and blocks the heavy attack with a clean, sharp crack. Surprised by the perfect defense, the attacker's eyes go wide, and he lets out a grunt of confusion, unable to believe the block. Behind him, the henchmen tremble, stunned to see their eternal punching bag block a blow from the gang leader. Completely confused himself, our MC realizes his body acted on its own before his brain could even process the imminent danger. Without letting go of the enemy's fist, his hand tightens on the guy's skin with a firm grip, locking his bones. With his pride wounded, the bully backs off, cursing, and pulls out a wooden club to get the advantage back on his side. Bringing the club down with hatred, the coward warns the kid not to get cocky just because of one lucky dodge. Slicing through the cold wind, the heavy weapon descends, aiming straight for our hero's head to end the matter. Showing off the grace of a master, our MC just leans his body back, letting the attack pass, sweeping through the empty air. Stumbling over his own useless force, the leader stammers in desperation, noticing that the kid dodged a fatal blow with extreme ease. Once again, the kid's head is spinning as he realizes his body keeps dodging on its own in a perfect, automatic way. With a simple hip twist, the hero uses his rival's weight against him, making the big guy tumble hard and lose his footing. Eating dust, the attacker kisses the concrete of the courtyard with a look of total shock on his mashed-up face. Standing firm with the confiscated weapon spinning in his hand, our MC understands that a sharp technique is guiding every muscle he moves. In complete panic, the two henchmen realize it's not luck at all, and that yesterday's prey has become the hunter in the school courtyard. Emitting a heavy aura, his posture imposes a psychological terror, making everyone wonder how a coward became this monster. Legs trembling, the leader gets up from the scraped ground, yelling at his lackeys not to chicken out in a real fight. Mustering courage from nowhere, the pair charges forward, denying the fact that this is the same failure from minutes ago. Closing in for a joint attack, the cowards try to crush the kid, crossing their weapons to leave no room for escape. In that millisecond, the kid's eyes light up with a fierce gold as all the pieces finally click into place in his consciousness. Assuming a perfect combat stance, he murmurs with conviction that he's remembered every essential detail of that past life. In a fraction of a blink, the wooden blade explodes in a brutal strike, breaking the duo's defense in a single blow. Thrown back by the absurd force of the aura, the henchmen fly unconscious through the air, drooling and bringing shame upon themselves in the dead of night. Slowly lowering his guard, our MC takes a deep breath, remembering that since childhood, those recurring dreams haunted his peaceful routine. In fact, his whole life was shaped by the memories of that great, white-haired master fighting endlessly under the vivid, blood-red sky. For a long time, our MC hated these visions in his mind, because they completely destroyed his concentration during daily training. But now, the life and final moments of that man have come flooding back into his memory. Faced with this insane clarity, the boy comes to the obvious conclusion that he is the exact reincarnation of the great Sword Emperor. Staring at his own trembling hand under the moonlight, our MC can hardly believe that being reborn in another body is a real thing. Looking up at the starry sky, it finally sinks in, and he realizes that the last wish of his past life really did come true. Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots up his arm, forcing the kid to grimace in discomfort. With his muscles aching badly, he grumbles that swinging a wooden sword for a few minutes has already wrecked the fragile arms of his current body. After all, the poor guy spent his entire life training swordsmanship in the most crooked and useless way possible, but completely changing his gaze to a killer stance. Our boy decrees that the tables have turned for good. With the memories and techniques of the old master in his head, the hero promises to become infinitely stronger, and couldn't care less who granted this miracle. Unlike the old Emperor Ren who failed at the end of his journey, the current Leonard is absolutely certain that he will reach the supreme peak. Using every available resource in his new body, our MC swears to surpass even the absurd peak of his past life. Meanwhile, inside the headquarters, an extra informs the higher-ups that 3 students have just been admitted to the infirmary, badly injured. In the officer's view, these injured folks will be dead weight and completely useless for the next field training. Even though it slightly weakens the group, the bearded commander says it doesn't affect the main plans, and brings up a much more urgent matter. Spilling the hot late-night tea, the officer says that number 381 thrashed 3 seniors by himself in the blink of an eye. Intrigued by the gossip, the chief asks what the numbers were on the uniforms of those idiots who got beaten so badly. Reading the report, the subordinate blurts out that the victims of the beatdown were numbers 329, 257, and 133. Quite surprised by the information, the commander notes that their ranks were high and can hardly believe the last place kid did that much damage without help. Breaking into a cold sweat at the possibility, the suit and tie guy mutters that if a hidden monster like that joins an enemy faction, the power dynamics will go down the drain. With his eyes gleaming with interest, the leader of the room repeats the MC's number with a dark smile. Wasting no time, the boss orders some goons to be sent to fetch the kid, by force if necessary, for a little chat. Plotting to use our hero as a pawn, the guy plans to personally test if the kid can serve as a useful tool for the family. Cutting to our MC's thoughts, the voice of the heavenly demon echoes, reminding him that his past failure had a very clear reason. According to the Dark Lord, the old emperor took too long to build his foundation in internal arts, and that was as Achilles' heel in the end. With this flaw exposed, the Master of Evil made it clear that if the hero had forged this internal energy in his youth, the story would have been different. With a perfect physical base from a young age, the outcome of that colossal battle under the Red Moon would likely have ended with our MC winning. Sitting in the courtyard channeling power, the boy agrees with his old rival, admitting he only focused on the flow of energy when he was already old and worn out. Now, having the advantage of a young and vigorous body, our protagonist prepares to solidify his ki in the purest way possible. Focusing his mind, he begins the process, drawing in the blue energy to create an indestructible body capable of withstanding absurd amounts of mana. Spinning a glowing magic circle on the ground, the mystical energy sweeps across the entire courtyard, being absorbed through the boy's pores. Opening his eyes and staring at his sparking hands, our MC smiles with satisfaction, confirming that the initial process was a complete success. Feeling the vigor coursing through his veins, he confesses that even in his past life, he struggled immensely with the lack of internal power at this age. Amazed by the new body's absurd absorption capacity, our MC wonders what kind of cheap, overpowered lineage this Cardenas family has. Soon dawn breaks, and in the noisy academy cafeteria, everyone is already grabbing their grub for breakfast. Chewing with his mouth full, our boy finds the food delicious and realizes that his new body's palate quite enjoys the mess hall slop. Focused on not repeating past mistakes, the kid devours everything, remembering that a heavy diet is crucial for building his physique. In the middle of the peaceful meal, a giant shadow engulfs our MC, and a deep voice calls out for number 381 in an intimidating tone. Sitting at the table without asking, the big extra strikes up a conversation, commenting on yesterday's fight and finding our hero's ravenous appetite strange. Noticing the clean tray, the huge guy continues the gossip, saying that our MC always used to eat like a bird and now he's scraped the plate clean. Keeping his cool, the blonde kid recognizes the dude as number 8, but the big guy quickly corrects him with a swagger, saying he's number 7 now. Pounding his chest, the brute boasts about having crushed the old number 7, and our MC instantly understands that the system here is to steal ranks through fighting. With no patience for an extra's backstory, our hero cuts him off and asks directly what the giant wants, bugging him during breakfast. Playing coy, number 7 pretends to be hurt by the coldness, and says he just came to bring some valuable information for the newbie. Lowering his voice, the giant warns that the atmosphere in the camp is tense because the top 3 in the rankings have started to forcefully expand their influence. Pushing his chair back, number 7 gets up heavily, finishing his warning in a conspiratorial tone. Walking side by side with our MC, the giant gossips that the elite with blonde hair and golden eyes call all the shots in there. As the big guy's voice rises, our boy tells him to tone it down before the elite's watchdogs overhear their little chat. Tired of the roundabout talk, our MC tells the guy to get straight to the point, leaving number 7 shocked by the eternal failure's sudden boldness. Spilling the beans, the giant begs the boy to understand that the people from the branch families are going to be swallowed up if they don't form a strong alliance against the elite. Explaining the math of terror, the extra reveals that more than half the base has already become the rich kids' lackeys, but there's no rule forbidding the weak from forming their own gang. Revealing the plan, the big guy invites our hero to join the faction led by numbers 3 and 9 to stand up to the oppressors. With zero hesitation, our MC flatly refuses the offer, stating that he won't be a lapdog for any faction. Walking right past the big guy with his tray in hand, the kid thanks him for the useful gossip and promises he owes him one for this free lesson on the barracks. Left hanging, number 7 is dumbfounded, muttering if the kid hit his head, because that was definitely not the coward from before. Leaving the noisy cafeteria, our hero walks calmly, enjoying the morning sun hitting the luxurious architecture of the Cardenas Academy. Suddenly, the old master's danger sense goes off, and he stops in the middle of the hallway, asking aloud who's sneaking up behind him. Stepping out of the shadows with heavy footsteps, an arrogant little group appears, scoffing and asking if the trash's meal was tasty. Staring at our MC's back, the leader of the jerks says he has a lot to talk about but needs to deliver an urgent message first. Pointing a finger right in his face, the spiky-haired extra yells at the top of his lungs that the almighty number 1 is demanding our boy's presence immediately. Trying to lay on some cheap charm, the lackey says that the boss liked our MC's attitude in rejecting number 7's alliance and, because of that, will forgive last night's beatdown. Finding this rapid gossip network amusing, our MC turns his back, ignoring the offer, and tells the whole crew to get out of his face without any ceremony. Boiling with rage from the humiliating rejection, the henchman draws his wooden sword and charges, yelling that he's going to teach the squad's janitor some manners. Charging like a blind bull, the extra closes the distance in the hallway with a single leap, aiming for our fearless boy's head. Without taking his hand out of his pocket, our MC just takes a step to the side, and the swing whizzes harmlessly through the air. Assessing the attack, the hero mentally admits that the physical explosiveness of these Cardenas family kids is totally bizarre for their age. In a fluid movement, our MC doesn't back down anymore and uses his own wooden blade to deflect the crazy lackey's second attack. Hit with the devastating counter, the attacker loses his footing and panics upon realizing his weapon has vanished from his hand with a snap. Looking down, the group notices that the jerk's training sword has been completely shattered into 1,000 pieces by the MC's absurd defense. Finishing the job quickly, our kid lands a sharp blow to the enemy's stomach with the hilt of his own sword, knocking the wind out of the poor guy. Falling to his knees, drooling, the guy face plants hard, and his fancy number 150 7-pin rolls in the hallway dust. Seeing the lackey passed out, the hero ponders that even a mid-rank extra has a lot of skill, confirming once and for all the hidden power of this dragon blood. With his partner down and drooling, the other henchman steps up, fuming with anger, as our MC scoffs, asking if he wants to get beat up too. Showing off the number 98 emblem on his chest, the second lackey roars furiously, claiming to be far superior to the defeated recruit. Keeping a cold smile on his face, our hero raises his intact weapon and says he'll grant the extra's wish to get beat up in the same fashion. In the silence of the Cardenas courtyard, the thud of the second lackey's body echoes, closing the book on the commotion. From a fancy balcony high above, a female voice whispers, impressed, that the boy simply toyed with the 2 seniors. With a smirk, the masked observer wonders if the kid had been hiding his true strength until that very moment. Turning his head slowly, our MC glances in the direction of the balcony, noticing that the spying attempt wasn't so discreet after all. Startled by the boy's perception, the spy mutters that their eyes just met, even from that absurd distance. Jotting down the data on his clipboard, the masked man decides that either way, this means an interesting turn of events and hopes there won't be any boring glitches this time. Finishing his report, the observer smiles, saying he expects great things from the infamous number 381. Meanwhile, downstairs, our hero walks with heavy steps, sporting his new golden pin. Striding across the courtyard, people whisper hurriedly, noticing that the boy is heading straight for the main training grounds. Racing against time, an extra tries to push through, apologizing to the girls and saying he needs to warn number 98. But coming face to face with the leader of the female group, the kid gulps when she questions him about the message. Under the bright sun, number 2, Verita Cardenas, stares down the lackey with a look that could chill you to the bone. Peeking over the wall, the blonde girl notices her subordinate passed out and drooling on the ground and concludes that, given the severity of the beating, only a high-ranking big shot could have done that kind of damage. Turning back to the poor messenger, Verita gives him a violent shove, pushing the guy against the stone wall. Terrified by the girl's brute force, the extra almost cries as she tells him to shut up and join her squad at once. Flashing back to the scene of the beatdown, our MC dodges the heavy punch with irritating ease and sends a cold warning that he's already declined the invitation. Using the brute's own weight against him, our boy executes a clean leg sweep that sends the guy spinning through the air and crashing into the courtyard stones. Without any mercy, the hero's hand darts out and rips the shiny badge from the defeated big guy's chest. Kicking the extra's body aside, our MC pockets the trophy while its former owner curses his own luck on the dirt ground. With a cynical little wave, our MC continues on his way and offers some sarcastic congratulations on the bully's rank demotion. Back in the present, Verita walks toward our MC and lets him know that she's heard about his lightning fast promotion to number 25. Focusing on the girl's face, her golden eyes shine intensely, scanning the hero from head to toe. Within her special vision, our boy's body appears fully mapped out, revealing the bizarre and chaotic flow of life energy burning like a furnace. Analyzing their exchange of looks, our MC figures out that the girl possesses a rare clairvoyant ability. He mutters that having the mind's eye at this age means the little blonde can see the pure energy running through anyone's veins. This nasty technique reads intent and key flow, turning the user into a brutal weapon against opponents who rely on hidden brute strength. Pouting, Verita cuts the tense atmosphere and asks why our MC is so stubborn about acting like a lone wolf. Before the kid can answer, a sharp voice echoes through the courtyard, telling everyone to cut the chatter. Appearing with the air of someone who owns the world, William Cardenas accuses number 2 of trying to steal information about his prey right in front of him. With no patience for the pretty boy's tantrum, our MC completely ignores number 1's presence. Staring at the boy, William tries to humiliate him, asking if, in the end, the useless trash had to come crawling to solve a problem he doesn't even know how to handle. Glancing at the pretty boy, our MC notes that this must be the feared number 1 and acknowledges that the guy's presence is genuinely oppressive. Striding forward, the cocky blonde comments that he was curious to see up close what kind of insect was causing such a commotion in the barracks. Stopping face to face, the atmosphere heats up when our MC smirks and says he's finally meeting the living legend of the school. Boiling with rage at the audacity, William furrows his brow and threatens him, saying he's still got strength left if the trash wants a beating right here and now. Bursting out laughing, Verita breaks the tension with a loud cackle, finding our MC's boldness the most amusing thing in the world. Wiping away an imaginary tear, the blonde girl confesses it's the first time she's seen someone from the rabble speak to the camp's little king in that tone. Turning to leave, number 2 remarks that it seems the mysterious boy won't be joining anyone's faction in tomorrow's training. Waving his hand, William agrees curtly and says he only came down to check out the face of the trash who's been stealing pins. With her mind's eye active, the blonde's vision focuses on the hero's dark aura as he sends a chilling warning that the pretty boy will regret provoking the wrong beast. Accepting the promise of trouble, our MC nods calmly, confirming the message was received. Our boy remembers that the exclusive training for the direct lineage forces the leaders to take the initiative in forming their own gangs. The next day, in a clearing in the giant forest, the bearded instructor asks if the whole mob of extras has gathered. Saluting, an officer confirms that all cadets are present and ready for the group torture. However, looking at the paperwork, the bald guy scratches his head and says a bizarre problem has occurred in the formation of the combat teams. Crossing his arms, head instructor Bruno tells his subordinate to spit it out and explain the drama without beating around the bush. Stuttering slightly, the officer says there's a crazy student who wants to participate in the field training without joining any group. Faced with this madness, the bearded man recalls that the exercise in the Great Cardenas Forest requires everyone to survive by hunting and securing their own base. Reminding them of the rules, he emphasizes that they didn't set a size limit for the squads precisely to force the weaker folks to bow to the strong. Pulling up the list, the officer points out that Squad A, led by William, formed the largest army right off the bat. Next up is Verita's Squad B, which absorbed the rest of the useful people left in the yard. Squad C was left with the remnants of the branch lineage, trying to build up numbers so they wouldn't be an easy target. And Squad D, led by number 4, focused on assembling a tactical team geared toward pure strategy and evasion. Rounding out the numbers, Squad E gathered the trash of the trash that nobody else wanted, forming a band of whiny extras led by number 483. Finally, the officer sighs and reveals the cherry on top, pointing to the lone wolf's name on the clipboard. Alone on the list, number 25 is signed up as the sole founding member of the suicidal Squad F. At the edge of the dense forest, our MC casually adjusts his backpack, ignoring the pitying looks from the people around him. Scanning the vast green expanse, he analyzes that the hunting ground is huge and dangerous. Thinking about the best strategy, the boy deduces that securing a base early on is essential to gain an advantage in that dense jungle. Coming closer, Instructor Bruno notices the deflated backpack and asks if the kid has lost his mind, bringing only water and a few crackers to survive in this inferno. Telling it like it is, our MC replies that, in practice, this useless training is nothing more than a game of hide and seek to steal pins from people. Without waiting for permission, he cuts the bald guy off and asks to begin the hunt before the official signal. Trying to stop the madness, number 4 jumps in front, offering a spot in his squad, and claiming the forest is too dangerous for a newbie playing hero. Staring at the boy with a fake smile, Dylan Cardenas exudes the aura of a venomous snake ready to strike. Without ceremony, our hero tells the little snake to get out of his way, and says he has no interest in becoming food for some slithering creature. Seeing through the ulterior motives, our MC thinks that the clever kid is just acting nice to use him as a meat shield when things get tough. Arguing that number 1's gang has over 100 crazies, Dylan tries to apply psychological pressure, saying that refusing is pure suicide in the middle of the woods. Cutting off the chatter, our boy responds coldly that he doesn't need to explain anything and just isn't in the mood to ruin the rich kid's snake picnic. With his offer rejected, Dylan's nice guy facade melts away, and he snarls that he finally understands why number 1 hates the smug trash so much. Laying his cards on the table, the snake warns that if diplomacy failed, he'll have to convince our MC with brute force right here and now. Resorting to a cheap shot, Dylan's lackey attacks from behind, telling the kid to accept the invitation by force. Dodging without looking, our MC just moves his neck, and the extra's blade whizzes through the empty air, startling the attacker. Focused on the hero's footwork, Dylan notices a strange and unusually fast movement for a normal student. In the blink of an eye, our MC lands a clean punch on the lackey's jaw, sending him face first into the ground, spitting his pride out in the dust. Dylan freezes in terror, realizing the punk has already reached the level of a professional assassin without showing a single drop of killing intent. Watching from the sidelines at the forest entrance, Instructor Bruno strokes his beard and praises number 25's perfect movement. Assessing the clash, he warns the kid that the beatdown doesn't count as official points, since the main test hasn't even started yet. Nodding, our MC accepts the rule without complaint and turns his back on the defeated Dylan. Commanding the start of the chaos, the bearded man lets the smaller group enter to give them a slight time advantage and grumbles that he didn't even sense our MC's presence during the attack. Running deep into the jungle, our hero reflects that even his past self would have struggled fighting kids with this bizarre physical explosiveness. Hidden in the shadows, a masked woman observes from afar and mutters that this monstrous talent is worthy of the continent's greatest family of swordsmen. Another spy in the dark agrees, highlighting that it's a surreal talent to awaken such strength at such a tender age. Intrigued by the mystery, the third observer ponders the hidden secret in the Cardenas' blood that allows so many prodigies to be born in the same generation. Leaping through the branches like a ninja monkey, our MC ignores the scouts and focuses solely on his training and the search for an advantageous hideout. Arriving in style, the boy lands in an open area, kicking up dust, ready to dominate the green territory. Cutting to the instructor's tent, the evaluation committee follows the simulation on magical screens floating in the air. Delivering the hot report, a monitor announces that the factions have already started brawling, much earlier than expected. Showing images of the fight, the officer reports that William Cardenas' Squad A ambushed the members of Squad C as soon as they set foot in the forest. In the midst of the widespread confusion, the screen focuses on the leader of Squad C narrowly dodging as number 1's army mercilessly slaughters everyone. Evaluating the massacre, Bruno agrees that the difference in numbers is brutal, but is surprised to see William betting on a surprise attack right from the start. Scratching his bald head, the head instructor deduces that William preferred not to risk the fatigue of feeding an army, and went straight for the jugular, cutting off enemy supplies at the source. By the bearded man's logic, keeping 100 people fed in the wilderness is impossible, so number 1 used the temporary alliance to annihilate the competition before hunger set in. Completely breaking from the common sense of securing a base, the arrogant rich kid stole dozens of pins in a single move, securing the top spot on the very first day of the test. Changing screens, Bruno asks for a status report on the intermediate factions led by Verita and Dylan. On the screen, Groups B appear side by side, armed to the teeth, proving they've formed a bizarre alliance to try and topple William's empire. Praising the tactic, the bald guy approves of the two leaders' quick decision, finding their attitude much smarter than the previous generation's stupidity. Finishing the assessment of the big shots, the instructor turns and asks for a summary on the failures from Officer Colin. Startled by the call out, the blue-haired woman gulps and quickly prepares to give the report on the losers. Reading from her clipboard, she says that the bunch of useless members in Squad E have made absolutely no progress because they can't even agree on which way to walk. But when she gets to our hero's name, Colin hesitates nervously, stuttering, unsure how to explain the bizarre thing our MC is up to at the moment. Curious about the suspense, Bruno asks what the heck is going on with the lone wolf in the middle of the woods. Out in the forest, the instructor spies on the kid from behind a thick tree, certain her concealment technique is perfect even by professional standards. But completely breaking the immersion, Our MC turns around out of nowhere and casually asks if he can ask a quick question. Sighing in defeat, Colin emerges from her hiding spot, assuming the little pest has a natural radar that bypasses her invisibility. Placing her hands on her hips, the woman asks what number 25 wants to know, as he calmly points to a dark hole in a rock mountain. With the utmost calm, the boy says he found a perfect cave to sleep in and points to a huge creature emerging from the shadows, growling softly. Staring at the glowing blue eyes in the darkness, our MC asks if the furry beast is part of the test, or just a jungle intruder. Leaping out of the cave, a colossal giant wolf bares its teeth, drooling with rage and eager to devour the audacious kid. Answering his question, Colin explains that the dire wolf is a beast tamed by the Cardenas family, used to train cadets in situations of extreme danger. Smiling confidently, the instructor crosses her arms and declares that a single student could never defeat the beast, but she plans to save the boy at the last second, just to see his tough guy act fall apart. Shattering the spy's confidence, the hero concludes aloud that defeating the beast means earning the right to use the cave as a private hotel in the forest. Swallowing hard, the woman agrees that if the student takes down the beast, he gets the base and a full pantry as a consolation prize. Wasting no time on gossip, the giant wolf leaps lethally towards our MC, its mouth wide open, ready to rip the intruder's head off. Finding the beast's movements interesting, our boy compliments the little monster's raw strength and readies his wooden sword, vowing to go easy. With a brutal spinning kick, the kid hits the creature's jaw, making the beast flip 3 times in the air before kissing the stone ground. Getting up furiously, the wolf howls, summoning a windstorm and manifesting a blue magical aura around its furry body. Feeling the ki fluctuate, our MC finds it strange that the beast seems to have completely lost its reason, falling into a mode of pure, savage killing. Pondering the dilemma, the hero calculates that if he goes easy, he'll end up getting hurt and messing up the responsible instructor's record. So with a wicked smile, he decides to slam the wooden sword right into the beast's snout, landing a violent blow that sends the wolf's teeth flying. Stunned by the sharp blow, the giant beast is slammed against the ground, making a hollow thud and letting out a pathetic whimper. Getting up again in a crazed frenzy, the beast ignores the pain and tries for a fatal bite, aiming straight for our cold, blooded hero's neck. Tired of the useless beast's persistence, our MC clicks his tongue impatiently, swearing he'd never be dinner for a drooling dog like this. In a burst of agility, the boy uses the hilt of his sword to deliver a perfect piercing strike right in the middle of the creature's snout, knocking the monster out instantly. Dumbfounded in the middle of the clearing, Colin almost drops her jaw. Noticing that the speed of the slaughter was so surreal, she didn't even have time to blink to pretend she was going to help. Watching the damage from afar, the woman swallows her pride and mutters that the kid's strength completely transcends the normal limits of a training cadet. Playing tamer, our MC sheathes his sword and tells the monster to sit, pointing his finger with the authority of an absolute alpha. Incredibly, the giant wolf wags its tail and sits down nicely like a scared little puppy, accepting its shameful defeat deep down. Without losing momentum, the hero tells the beast to give him a paw and roll over, completing the session of canine humiliation in under 2 minutes. Finding the scene hilarious, our MC turns to the instructor and asks with the utmost innocence if he can use the beast as a pet during the test. Imagining the absolute madness of the boy riding the giant wolf and steamrolling the entire test, Colin immediately refuses, shaking her head in desperation. Trying to bend the rules, the woman allows the use of the beast only for exploration and transport, since the ability to tame monsters is also a valid skill on the resume. Content with the deal, the boy agrees, saying his intention was always just to have a free horse so his legs wouldn't get tired. Sealing the contract, Colin demands that the creature not attack other students, and the hero turns, ready to start his safari in the forest. Smirking, the former Sword Emperor mentally celebrates that this little game of taming monsters with life energy is extremely useful in the current world. Giving the order to move out, our hero jumps onto the giant beast's back, telling the wolf to track down some real food to fill his stomach. In the middle of Cardenas Forest, our MC and his giant pet reach a fork in the road, and the boy tells the beast to investigate one path while he checks the other. In a kind master's voice, our MC gives the wolf permission to bring back any interesting junk it finds along the way, even if it's not edible. Understanding the alpha's command, the beast takes off at a run, howling happily and tearing through the undergrowth at a speed that would make any horse jealous. Far away, disaster strikes at a destroyed campsite where a kid, curled up on the ground, cries desperately, asking if the nightmare is over. Number 4 scoffs, stating that those failures don't deserve to have the family's blood running in their veins. They're so pathetic. Looking at his own stuffed pocket, the rich kid grumbles that the only problem with the massacre is the lack of space to store so many useless pins from defeated extras. Turning his face with a dark fury, the villain promises that the next time he runs into our prey, the extermination will be complete. Trembling all over, the leader of Group E grits his teeth on the ground, cursing his luck for running into the psychopathic henchman. The shock is so great because, at the beginning of the confrontation, the poor guy thought his entire useless gang would be enough to take down a lone target in the forest. Regretting being born, number 483 cries, holding his chest and complaining that he was forced to be the leader of that bunch of failures without asking for anything. Around him, the survivors ask for orders with tearful voices, but the kid is already at death's door, thinking it's the end of the line for all of them if they get attacked again. Trying to cheer up the losers, the leader tells the group to stop the drama and find some food before hunger kills those who escape the beating. A bizarre noise makes the earth tremble, scaring the group of losers, and they consider hiding like frightened rats to wait for things to calm down. Turning his head in confusion, the leader notices the look of shock on his entire team's faces as they stare into the tall grass, terrified to the bone. From the shadows of the foliage, a bear emerges, drooling, making it clear that a higher power has come to collect the rent in the form of a quick snack for the beast. Desperate at the sight of his demise arriving in the form of a giant bear, the leader closes his eyes, expecting the fatal bite to send his whole life down the drain. From the tall foliage, our hero leaps with a war cry, falling from the sky directly onto the hungry beast. Bringing the hilt of his sword down like lightning, he slams the wood right into the beast's forehead, drawing a sharp roar of pain that echoes through the forest. Opening his eyes, number 483 stammers in disbelief, not understanding how that weak extra showed up right at the moment of disaster. Standing majestically on the beast's furry carcass, the hero dusts himself off while the rest of the gang holds back tears of relief. Hopping down from the knocked-out bear, our boy faces the group, and the kid on the ground immediately recognizes the famous number 25. Walking right past the trembling group, the hero pulls a hunting knife from his backpack, focused only on the mountain of meat in front of him. Bursting into tears of terror, the leader yells, asking what else our MC is going to take from them after all the slaughter, whimpering that they've already lost their pins and their morale. He cries, saying they don't even have a piece of food to offer the new aggressor. Pointing a trembling finger, the gang's quadruped calls the hero a heartless monster for coming to kick them while they're down. Taking his eyes off the potential barbecue, our kid turns his head in confusion and lets out a "yuh," not understanding the unprovoked drama. With the utmost calm, our MC says he just asked if everyone was okay and showed no intention of fighting. Not buying the excuse, the loser questions why the heck the guy isn't there to steal their elimination emblems. Shrugging, our boy calmly confesses that the goal isn't to win or lose the training, since the top priority here is to fill his stomach with the giant bear meat. Staring at the whiner's dumbfounded face, the hero assures him that the dangerous beast was taken down purely because of hunger and nothing more. Putting the knife back in its sheath, he adds that if the idea was to compete seriously, he would definitely choose less pathetic opponents to score points from. Sighing heavily, the leader of Group E understands the humiliating logic and hangs his head in shame. Picking up the pieces of his dignity, the whiner admits that if it weren't for our MC, the whole gang would have become bear chow and swears he owes him one. The hero gives him a friendly pat on the shoulder and says there's no need to thank him for not being eliminated, since the food was pure profit. Whimpering again, number 483 stammers that wasn't exactly the point of his thanks, but gives up trying to argue with a hungry maniac. Out of nowhere, the bushes rustle violently with a threatening noise, making the whole gang tremble in panic. Emerging from the shadows, the same immense blue beast advances, baring its sharp teeth, leaving everyone frozen in shock. Terrified, the leader screams, warning of the monster's arrival, thinking the nightmare had started all over again with full force. With a mere hand gesture, our MC commands the bestial creature to sit quietly, cutting all the drama in an instant. Without hesitation, the giant wolf obeys, dropping an unconscious boy on the ground like an old toy in front of the frightened group. Analyzing the poor guy left in the dust, our MC approaches, and the rest of the group recognizes the familiar blue hair of a certain female leader. Looking at the battered golden pin, the hero confirms that the body stretched out there belongs to the infamous number 3. In utter disbelief, the extra stammers, asking how a top 3 camper survived to be in such a deplorable state. Breaking into a cold sweat before the blue beast licking its lips, the leader mutters that if even a living legend from the top 5 fell like that, the overall situation in the forest is a true chaos of impending doom. Pondering the damage to the girl, our MC suspects the cuts were made by a weapon, not animal claws, concluding that the perpetrator was either number 1 or number 2 himself. Sealing the impromptu deal, our boy proposes leaving the bear meat for the group in exchange for the kid taking care of number 3's wound until she wakes up. Accepting the bargain without a second thought, the leader cries with emotion, grabbing the furry carcass and swearing eternal loyalty for the meal. Seeing the exaggerated excitement, our MC gives a final warning, advising the group not to get so attached to useless numbers in a poorly made simulation. Turning his back, he disappears back into the jungle, accompanied by his blue guard dog. Staring at the smoke from a distance, the whiner scratches his head and concludes that, In the end, that lone wolf wannabe doesn't seem like such a bad guy after all. Hours later, in the cave hideout, the fire crackles and number 3 slowly opens her eyes, feeling her body ache with pain. Looking at the stone ceiling, the girl mutters in confusion, not knowing what part of the afterlife she ended up in after passing out hard. Noticing the makeshift bandages on her arm, she finds the good quality dressing strange, as it doesn't match the violence of the camp. From the back of the cave, illuminated by the fire, our hero gives a calm why, stating that the sleeping princess has finally decided to wake up. In an aggressive reflex, the girl jumps up, kicking up dust, and throws a kick at the kid's face, thinking it's the enemy returning to finish the job. Grabbing her shin with one hand, our MC dryly informs her that wasting energy with a newly healed leg is pure stupidity. Ignoring logic, the blue-haired beast snarls, demanding her pin back, her teeth gritted with rage. Not caring about the tantrum, the boy moves to the back of the cave and states bluntly that he didn't steal anyone's stupid emblem. Her tough girl posture crumbling, it sinks in, and the girl mutters a weak, "Thank you," confessing she doesn't even remember how our MC saved her skin. With diplomacy established, the hero returns with some steaming, skewered pieces of meat and tells the feisty girl to sit down and fill her stomach. With a smirk, he tells her not to be shy because there's plenty of food at the base. Chewing somewhat reluctantly, the leader of Squad C takes a deep breath, and our MC asks the obvious question about who left her body in shambles. Staring into the fire, she denies having fought any forest beasts, confirming his suspicions that a heavy ambush between humans took place. Trembling with rage, the girl pounds the ground, reporting that the cowardly attack happened right as they were finishing setting up Squad C's base. Showing the memory of the terror, the scene flashes back and reveals William's army destroying their barriers and slaughtering her team in an absolute massacre. Crying in frustration, the leader confesses she didn't have the strength to fight and was shamed watching her squadmates get swatted down like flies with no chance to defend themselves. Understanding the drama, our MC comforts the girl, reminding her that her lack of leadership experience was the real culprit, since fighting against the big numbers requires strategies beyond brute force. In the boy's tactical mind, William played dirty to gain an advantage, launching a surprise attack on an inexperienced team full of newbies and avoiding a fair fight. Asking for details, the hero confirms that even the guards at Squad C's base were annihilated without a chance by number 1 himself. Analyzing the ranks, our MC explains that compared to William, the girl's level is indeed quite weak, but that doesn't erase the raw willpower pulsing within her. Remembering the mid-air kick, the girl blushes with embarrassment, but inside, her fighting spirit reignites, and she vows not to surrender without fighting to the end. Smiling with satisfaction, the hero admires the leader's mental strength, foreseeing a future where she becomes a true beast on the battlefield if properly trained. Summing up the confrontations, our MC states that the way things are going, William's team will end up chewing through Veritas and Dullen's squads in the blink of an eye if no one intervenes. Confirming the theory, he says that the two intermediate teams formed a desperate alliance in the forest, but in the end, quantity doesn't beat the rich kid's raw quality. Teaching advanced tactics, he asserts that Squad A is riding a victory high with morale through the roof, so even a giant union of B and D won't stop the motivated fury of the well-dressed crew. Being realistic, our MC ponders that a well-placed ambush would be the ideal way to turn the tables, but he highly doubts William is dumb enough to fall for cheap traps. Taking up the challenge, number 3 crosses her arms and asks what, then, would be the ideal weak point to go up against the 100-headed Jang. With a serious expression, the hero states that the only weakness of the giant army is to aim all blows and attacks exclusively at the head of William Cardenas himself. Explaining it like a military chess game, he teaches that the command structure there revolves around the fear the kid imposes, so quick decisions only work because he is the central piece. Tossing a pebble and crushing an insect on the dirt floor, the boy swears that if the king falls, the formation crumbles, and the whole clique becomes a useless, headless mess. Absorbing the insane plan, the girl's eyes widen, understanding that taking out the pillar of support is the key to destabilizing the group's morale. Seeing the vengeful smile on the girl's face, our MC throws out the fatal bait, asking if she's not interested in punching the rich kid in the face to restore her destroyed gang's honor. Accepting the challenge, number 3 nods, and our MC tells her to trust him to lead the counter, attack and crash the elite's party. Finding his posture arrogant, she grumbles, asking if he wants to become her boss too and demand reverence in the cave. The very next morning, back in the real world, the makeshift alliance of Squads B and D lurches nervously along a narrow trail in the middle of the woods. Keeping pace, an advisor asks the leadership for patience, stating that for now, the forest's silence is a sign of a strategic advantage. Smiling confidently with the plan, Dylan agrees, saying the outcome of the clash will be decided very soon, thanks to the size of his army. But shattering all tension, the lackey at the front raises his arm in desperation, yelling urgent orders for the entire army to halt. In the blink of an eye, the forest trembles, and shouts to prepare for battle erupt from under the branches, tearing through the tranquility. A terrified subordinate runs up, informing the Alliance that they've already lost half their forces, and that hiding and retreating would be the only way to avoid becoming minced meat. Hidden in the treetops, the B&D Alliance trembles as William's army marches on, crushing everything in its path through the jungle. Halting the troops suddenly, a sergeant from squad points his spear at the branches, ordering the rats to come down before they get shot with arrows. Stepping forward, the preppy number 1 smiles mockingly, praising his guard's sense of smell for finding the hidden prey. Adding fuel to the fire, Verita tosses her hair back provocatively, calling the rich kid's troop a bunch of well-trained dogs. Dismissing the blonde girl, William orders his army to advance, tearing through the undergrowth to crush the Alliance without leaving room for small talk. Crossing his arms, the villain acts like he's always right, calling them all trash and swearing he never expected such a pathetic ambush. The atmosphere chills as Verita activates her mind's eye, saying that the only dead weight staining the family here is the spoiled rich kid himself. Readying her sword, she takes a jab at his arrogant posture, saying that the plumed peacock loves to put on a show for the cameras, but can't handle a real punch. Blinded by rage at the female mockery, number 1 draws his weapon and snarls that he'll teach her what dignity is the hard way. In a burst of golden aura, the two clash swords in mid-air, generating a shock wave that sends leaves flying far across the battlefield. Riding the leader's momentum, the squadra sergeant orders the entire battalion to charge with maximum force to annihilate the enemy base at once. On the other side, Dylan desperately yells for his army to tighten their defense and not let the shield wall break under any circumstances. But the impact is too brutal, and the Alliance's formation cracks in the middle, with the enemy squad trampling and crushing the extras with their screams. While the war rages on, Verita uses her clairvoyance and dodges a heavy blow, feeling the absurd pressure rip the ground beside her. With cold determination, the blonde curses the pretty boy's insane speed that makes even the most perfect defense ache her wrists with every impact. Assessing the situation from afar, our hero, spying from behind a tree, recognizes the terrifying power pulsing in the villain's body. He understands instantly that the blonde monster's true strength lies in his raw constitution, which allows for continuous bursts of energy without tiring. Suddenly, a violent crack signals that Verita's defense has finally given way under the brutal weight of an overhead strike. Seizing the opening, William puts even more force into his blade, forcing the girl to bite her lip to keep from screaming in pain. But relaxing his shoulder, the pretty boy prepares for the final pounce, feeling that he has completely broken his rival's stance. Delivering a clean kick straight to the stomach, number 1 makes the blonde girl spit saliva and fly backward into the foliage. Launched into the air, she regains her balance at the last second, noticing that the guy completely lowered his guard after the kick. Focusing her mind's eye on his back, she perceives his muscles relaxing and sees the perfect opening for a fatal counterattack. But her intuition screams, and the girl freezes mid-air, realizing that the bizarre relaxation is a deliberate bait to lure her to her doom. The hesitation saves the girl's life as she barely defends against the bluish blast the rich kid had hidden up his sleeve the whole time. Confirming his malice, William laughs devilishly, praising her reaction but warning that the attack speed wouldn't have forgiven the delay. Belittling the girl's clairvoyance, the villain scoffs that predicting the move is useless if the body isn't fast enough to dodge. And the icing on the cake comes as he whispers very close that her pathetic slowness is nothing compared to the terror that number 25 imposes in a fight. Hearing the MC's name ignites a rage in the blonde, who tries to react with maximum fury, cutting the air in a violent arc. Dodging without breaking a sweat, the pretty boy executes a leg sweep, and number 2 kisses the dirt for good, unable to continue the fight. Staring at the blonde girl on her knees, William lifts his chin and orders her to admit defeat before embarrassing herself further. Pounding his own chest, he shouts to the entire jungle that Squad A is the absolute winner and number 1 rules the camp from end to end. Shattering the easy victory mood, the sound of slow footsteps emerging from the woods draws the pretty boy's furious gaze. Eliciting a sigh of relief from Verita and Dylan, our hero steps out of the shadows, dragging an unconscious body by the scruff of the neck. Shocked by the intrusion, William puts a hand on his hip and asks mockingly what the heck the little lone rat is hunting in the middle of the giants' war. Feigning innocence, our boy drops the unconscious lackey on the ground, replying that he just came to return the message after Squad A invaded and destroyed his base minutes ago. Bursting out laughing, the rich kid scoffs at the word base and throws it in his face that the kid doesn't even have an army to call a squad. With the utmost calm, our MC confirms the rumor, saying that he really didn't have a group until a few moments ago. With a terrifying roar, war cries rip through the forest, making number 1's eyes go wide in pure shock. Breaking through the tree line, a wave of ragged extras from Gang E floods the battlefield, launching a surprise attack on the preppy henchmen. Howling like hungry savages, the forest losers unleash all their pent-up anger from the training on the enemy's front line, spreading chaos. From atop a tree stump, number 483 holds up his golden pin, celebrating that the revolt of the useless has turned the tide for good. Holding a piece of giant bear meat high, the kid roars, motivating the troops, saying there will be plenty of food if they keep up the fight. The crowd goes wild, hailing number 25 as a godlike savior in the middle of the woods. Stunned by the turn of events, Verita stammers, asking what kind of bizarre spell our MC used to tame the worst gang in the camp and get those cowards to fight so savagely. Flashing back to the cave scene, the leader of Gang E is crying again, but this time asking why our MC suddenly offered to merge their groups. In tears, the extra insists they are dead weight and would only hinder a genius's progress in the military test. Cold in his response, our hero tells the group to stop whining about some stupid numbers stitched on their clothes. Telling it like it is, our MC says the difference between number 1 and the last in line isn't innate talent but the mental barrier of accepting defeat before even fighting. Ending his motivational speech, he reminds them that they all carry Cardana's blood and have enough potential to crush any arrogant, rich kid through sheer effort. Explaining the Academy's cruel math, the boy details that the raw difference at birth only affects the absolute elite, while the vast majority of extras are deliberately kept at a lower level to become human shields. Pointing to the blue-haired leader sitting in the corner, our MC uses her as an example, stating that number 3 climbed to the top of the branch families through nothing but sweat and sick persistence. Pounding his chest, the hero throws it in their faces that he's also living proof that the number on the pin is just for show, since he climbed from the bottom to the top 30 in a single leap. Fired up by the speech, number 483 grits his teeth, admitting he's tired of being treated like trash, even though he knows his strength is similar to half of his oppressors. Clenching his fists with hatred, the kid yells that physical strength isn't the problem, but the mental cowardice that makes them bow their heads to a corrupt system. Seeing the fire in their eyes, our MC throws down the final challenge, asking if they have the courage to put their lives on the line to take down the unreachable leaders and prove their own worth. Extending his hand in the middle of the cave, the hero promises to trust the gang blindly if they have the absurd determination to win, no matter the cost. Shaking the kid's hand firmly, our MC seals the unlikely alliance, absorbing Gang E into the brand new Squad F. Back in the present war, our boy invites number 3 to turn the tables for good and take down the preppy little king by force. Feeling her blood boil, the blue-haired girl raises her sword to the sky and lets out a war cry, ordering a full charge on the stunned army. Watching the leader of Squad C command the crowd, Verita snaps back to reality and snarls with anger, offended by the idea of joining forces with someone from a branch family. Raising her injured arm, number 3 counters the arrogance, recalling how she fought bravely against our MC in the past and how he blocked her kick with his bare hand, proving his absurd superiority. Proud of her master, the blue-haired girl defends our boy, saying his movements are trillions of times more polished than William's empty brutality. With a scowl and a clenched fist, the blonde defends herself, arguing she's not being demoted by following orders but strategically bowing before an alpha 1,000 times stronger. Smirking at the squabble, number 3 points to the battlefield and shows that Squad F's bizarre group of cowards is wiping William's elite off the map with pure, accumulated hatred. Letting out a nervous chuckle, our MC finds the deadly rivalry between the two leaders amusing and accepts their help without a second thought. Getting up from the ground with dust on her knee, Verita swallows her pride and officially surrenders, transferring her troops and joining Squad F on the spot. On the other side of the circle, Dylan doesn't miss the opportunity and throws his emblem on the ground, swearing loyalty and bringing his whole gang of bootlickers to the winning side. Clutching his forehead in pain, number 4 mutters with a weak laugh that it's better to get beat up by our MC and swallow his tears than to lose badly to a spoiled, arrogant brat like William. Completely in disbelief over the widespread mutiny, the pretty boy curses Dylan for breaking the direct elite's clique rules. Seething with rage, William points a trembling sword and accuses everyone of treason and a lack of pride for bowing to a half-breed piece of trash who doesn't even have real noble blood. Cutting the tantrum short, Dylan fires back, telling William to shut up and accept defeat instead of whining about lineage in the middle of a beatdown. Turning his eyes to the real threat, number 1 yells, calling our MC out for a fight, cursing the guy with every word in the dictionary. Challenging the hero to a one-on-one in the middle of the woods, the villain declares that the war between the squads will be decided in a duel to the end between their leaders. Stomping his heavy boot on the ground, the preppy blonde summons his golden aura, promising to crush our boy's audacity and make him understand the real strength of the elite before he turns to ash. With a cold smile, our boy confirms that a one-on-one was always the original plan to avoid wasting time beating up extras. Pulling the wooden sword from his shoulder, our MC counters the rich kid's words, returning the challenge with the same arrogance. Telling his enemy to bring it on, the hero assumes a combat stance, setting the stage for the elite's final humiliation. Watching everything from the monitoring room, the bald guy tensely announces that the final duel between 25 and 1 is finally about to begin. Biting his nails, the officer wonders if the undefeated legend will keep his throne, or if the rising star will destroy the camp's entire hierarchy. Focused on the screen, the head instructor tells everyone to pay attention, claiming they are witnessing the birth of a hardcore captain. On the battlefield, William throws the first strike, and the collision of blades sends dust and rocks flying everywhere with a deafening impact. Analyzing the exchange, Colin recalls that number 2 couldn't handle the defensive strain, but our MC is blocking the sword strikes as if they were feathers. Swallowing back tears, the defeated blonde girl bites her lip, admitting that even though she's strong, William's brute force tactic has glaring flaws in his movement. Because of his inexperience, our MC can read the pretty boy strikes long before they're even launched. Suddenly, the kid's sword vanishes from the villain's field of view in a bluish blur, leaving the rich kid completely confused and exposed. Understanding the trick, Verita realizes that our boy waited for the perfect blind spot to attack from an impossible to defend angle. Surprised by the tactic, Bruno leaps from his chair, praising the kid's absurd combat reading in the heat of battle. Fascinated, the bald guy notes that the boy managed to decipher number 1's technique in a matter of seconds without needing the cheap power of clairvoyance. Sighing with envy, the instructor ponders how a kid with no special lineage attributes is doing what the second best student couldn't, even with a hack. Flashing back to the previous battle, William recalls the clash with our MC, admitting it wasn't just brute force that broke the lackey's sword that night in the hallway. The real secret to number 1's overwhelming power is his OP ability called psychokinesis, an invisible, formless energy that just crushes his enemies with brute force. By coating his weapon with this mental power, the rich kid compensates for his lack of technique with pure destructive force, breaking unbreakable defenses. His dirty trick is to make the wooden sword weigh a ton right in the middle of a swing, tricking the reflexes of anyone trying to block the cut. At the moment of impact, the psychokinesis slams down on the defense, causing that terrible internal damage that exhausted Verita in the blink of an eye. Completely defying physics and common sense, William becomes an invincible human war tank by cadet standards. In the insane exchange, the pretty boy praises our MC's reflexes but curses, laughing, that intuition isn't enough to stop his overwhelming power. Bringing down the heavy, energy-charged blow, number 1 aims for the head, thinking he'll end the fight with a single brutal snap. But to everyone's surprise, the blades clash again, and our MC stops the invisible sword without budging an inch. Shocked beyond belief, William screams, yelling that it's impossible for anyone to withstand the pressure, and accuses the boy of hiding his true strength until that moment. Smiling calmly again, the hero replies coolly, letting his own sword do the talking instead of wasting saliva. Evoking his divine heritage, our MC's weapon glows intensely, channeling the legitimate power of House Cardenas. Clicking his tongue, the villain accepts the mystical challenge, promising to return the favor with interest on the battlefield. Keeping his distance, our MC understands that if his enemy has psychokinesis, he can launch mental slashes from afar without needing to get close to deal lethal damage. Confirming the theory, the surrounding rocks explode on their own, showing that the number 1 title isn't just a cheap uniform decoration. Testing the waters, William asks if the kid has figured out the real danger of a long-range attack, or if he's just running around like a scared cockroach. Ignoring the threat, our MC turns to face him and tells the pretty boy to use everything he's got before his patience runs out. Seething with pure hatred, the villain summons a blue aura around his entire body, promising to show the audacious number 25 a living nightmare. But mentally, our boy analyzes that his body is still too fragile to use all the ki from his past life, and he can't be drawing attention with divine power. Assuming a basic sword stance, he decides to focus only on pure, raw technique that doesn't consume life energy unnecessarily. Dashing forward like a bullet, our MC mentally decrees that he will cut the pretty boy down with pure, unadulterated skill. Unleashing a flurry of swift cuts, William is astonished by the hero's dodging speed, calling him as quick as a rat. Resorting to dirty tricks, the villain uses psychokinesis directly on the ground, blowing up the earth under the kid's feet to break his stance. The explosion rips chunks of ground into the air, kicking up dust and destroying the surrounding trees. With a feline reflex, our MC does a backflip, escaping the hole by a hair's breadth but almost losing his balance on the scorched grass. Spitting dirt, William finally understands his opponent's bizarre trick and accuses the trash of dodging long before the attacks even form. Using his head, he puts the pieces together, realizing that his invisible force shouldn't be so easily predicted by anyone. Staring at the boy dancing between his blows, the pretty boy freezes, admitting that for him to dodge everything means the kid is actually infinitely stronger than he appears. Trembling, the rich kid wonders how the trash can be the coward in this story if even he, with all his raw power, can't get close to landing a clean hit. His eyes widening, he gulps, realizing that the one who's actually afraid to advance is himself, because our MC never stops closing the distance, step by step, in a sadistic mental game. Understanding the macabre dance, Colin stammers that the boy is running in circles on purpose, pretending to flee. Agreeing, Bruno smiles, saying that our MC is actually cornering his prey invisibly, and number one only just now realized it. Toying with his food like a lion hunting a tired zebra, the hero circles the villain, closing the deadly trap with every passing second of the fight. Completely losing his footing and his breath, William trembles, noticing that the boy has already crossed the safe zone, and is right on his neck again. Desperate, the pretty boy attacks the empty air, screaming in panic, asking when the kid got so close. And in the coldest possible reply, our MC states bluntly that the great number one lost the fight the exact second he felt afraid of what comes next. Delivering the final cut with golden energy bursting from the blade, it slashes across the villain's chest in a perfect, brutal arc, sending him flying into the sky. Tumbling in the air, William spits blood and mutters in defeat that it's impossible to lose to the trash he humiliated yesterday. Falling unconscious face, first into the dirt, the tyrant's body ends his oppressive reign once, and for all in front of everyone in the clearing. The final explosion kicks up a massive cloud of dust, sweeping over the crowd that was watching the king's ruin from the sidelines. In the bizarre silence after the fight, the pretty boy opens a half-lidded eye and mumbles in confusion if he really lost. At that same moment, his instincts freeze, predicting that if this were a real combat situation, a certain end would have already taken his soul to heck a long time ago. Understanding the terrifying final warning from the giant shadow falling over him, he realizes that was pure mercy, not just a silly trip up. Taking a deep breath, our MC lowers his sword and sheathes it, not giving a single thought to his enemy's existential crisis. Breaking his tough guy act, William laughs weakly, coughing up dust, and finally admits that the game is over for him, for real. Acknowledging the new boss, the rich kid mutters his defeat, handing over the number 1 crown to number 25 on a silver platter. Watching the scene, the entire alliance is in shock, seeing the untouchable William Cardenas on the ground, defeated by a complete nobody extra. Arriving in the clearing suddenly, Bruno lets out a shocked whistle at the post-war scene, stating that the sight was too bizarre to believe. Surprising everyone, William genuinely thanks him for the beating, saying he felt a huge weight lifted from his shoulders after the thrashing he took. A bit confused, our hero raises an eyebrow and asks what kind of strange talk that is, coming from the cocky number one himself. Venting on the ground, the rich kid says he lived his whole life oppressed by his father's disgusting and violent educational policies, forcing him to be the strongest, no matter the cost. Sighing with relief, he reveals that the entire weight of his sick pride and family pressure dissolve as soon as our MC destroyed his false invincibility in the forest. Understanding the burden, our boy offers a hand to pull his former enemy from the dust, holding no grudge for the past tantrum. Accepting the handshake, the ex-king gives an honest smile and thanks him for the fight, stating it was the best duel of his life at the academy. Relieved at heart, William closes his eyes and enjoys the first gust of true freedom's wind in a long time. Returning the respect, the hero seals the peace with a nod, ending the silly rivalry in the middle of the green jungle. Back to the gossip at HQ, the entire council nearly falls out of their chairs looking at the data, shouting in disbelief at the fall of the untouchable number one. A suit and tie officer pulls his hair out, grumbling that he bet all his money on William's victory, and now he's gone completely broke in the battalion's betting pool. Cool with the chaos, Chief Bruno laughs heartily, stating that despite the bizarre result, this year's crop of talent is by far the best they've ever laid eyes on. Just then, as the crowd lifts the new leader into the air, the official announcement echoes, ending the field training with our MC crowned as the Supreme King. In a straight talk, Verita admits that number 25 was surprising, but the real shock was seeing Gang E fighting with such rage. Recalling the memories, the blonde girl still can't believe the boy joined the failures, just to take down the squad by force. Back at the base, the bearded commander praises the tactic, stating that the newbie perfectly read the true intention of the training. Satisfied with the unexpected result, the chief tells his subordinate to prepare the troops to return home. Without delay, the leader demands contact with the main mansion, announcing that the time for the coming of age ceremony has arrived. In the forest, the blue-haired girl pets the giant wolf, sadly telling it that she's leaving and can't take the beast with her. In response, the beast lowers its ears and lets out a heart-wrenching, needy whimper. Nearby, our MC gives a friendly smile and asks if the little blue monster is sad to see everyone go. Howling at the moon, the beast confirms its sadness, and the boy calmly replies that he'll miss this unusual partnership too. With a gentle pat on the furry snout, the hero apologizes for leaving his pet behind but leaves a serious promise hanging in the air. With a determined look, our MC swears he will become much stronger and will definitely come back for his friend in the future. Excited by the idea, the wolf breaks into a canine grin as the kid says they'll play a lot when that day comes. As he turns to continue his journey, the boy demands that the beast train hard to be able to keep up with his pace down the road. Under the moonlight, the beast hauls majestically as the hero decrees that next time, he'll give the monster a cool name. Inside the fancy carriage, the atmosphere gets tense with our MC sitting across from the defeated leaders from the forest. To break the ice, our MC questions what those folks are doing there, since there was no rule about boarding by rank. With zero stress, the blue-haired girl says she just followed her boss, while Verita confesses she's there because of the star of the day. Facing the ex-king, the boy notices his rival's sore expression and throws out some bait, commenting that he hasn't heard a peep from the dude. Seething with anger, William yells that he wanted to have a chat with the monster who jumped to the top. But the kid's audacity is irritating. With his arms crossed, the blonde dude announces in a serious tone that he has some important gossip to share with the folks in the carriage. Sarcastically, the blue-haired girl asks if our MC hit the rich kid too hard on the head, and he tells everyone to shut up. Getting straight to the point, the blonde dude reveals that starting tomorrow, supplies will be based on grades, and the real torture is about to begin. The bizarre detail is that before that, there will be the blood awakening ceremony, and the red potion promises to unlock their hidden power. In the details of the gossip, William says that the lineage possesses secret magical organs, and this ritual serves to turn on their switch. Understanding everything, Verita concludes that's why the camp only taught the basics, and immediately questions what really changes. At that moment, our MC remembers that mana manipulation becomes unrestricted, which is why spiritual items were banned before. Seconds later, the revelation continues, stating that after the awakening, the cadets will join the famous Young Dragon Order. Surprised by the news, our boy admits he didn't know about this team, since officially, there are only 7 knightly orders in the Empire. To clear up the confusion, the pretty boy says that this order focuses on real combat and creates an insane resume for each dedicated student. With this information, our MC understands that grades and organs dictate the future and asks if the biology changes for each person. In a technical response, his rival explains that the organs are mana cores, and the quantity varies greatly from person to person. Behind him, the blue-haired girl mentions the rumor of dragon blood in their veins, confessing that no one knows if it's a myth or pure truth. With a pointed finger, William asserts that the fewer cores, the better, with the single core being the rare gem that guarantees total efficiency. Full of swagger, the pretty boy already claims victory, saying he's definitely a single core, and tells our MC to wipe that smile off his face. Laughing, the girls tell the hero to ignore the blonde's ego, since a gift like that is only born once a decade in the family. In his old memories, our MC recalls using a similar concept, manipulating sources for the 5 elements of nature. Curious, the boy asks about having 5 cores, and Verita's eyes widen, calling the pentacore unimaginable trash. According to the rich kid's math, each extra core doubles the resource cost and requires a hellish balance, destroying all progress. With the calculations at his fingertips, the blonde dude says a double core is 4 times worse, while a triple jumps to 9 times. Mercilessly, he reveals that the pentacore consumes 25 times more material, becoming an absurd nightmare on Earth. Suspiciously, William points out that the hero should have known this from the theory classes, and Verita agrees, not understanding the stupidity. In an absurd plan, the kid thinks that if he applies the training from his past life to the 5 cores, he'll become an absolute god. Overly excited, the boy throws out the idea that training all 5 would bring colossal strength to whoever could master the technique. Without pity, the blonde dude warns that it's beautiful in theory, but funding that mountain of magical resources is almost impossible, even for the rich. Dejectedly, the pretty boy concludes that having too many cores is just a setback in life, and would prefer a triple to avoid the headache. Right at the ceremony, bad luck strikes hard, and the shocked doctor reveals to the Empire that the hero drew the cursed pentacore. With a sigh in the luxurious hallway, our boy ironically notes his own luck, admitting he drew attention for all the wrong reasons. Walking through the halls of the base, the kid grumbles that he didn't want this tragic twist on the very first day of the new training. Completely frustrated, he tries to process the extent of the damage this lack of magical efficiency will bring to his daily routine. Out of nowhere, the boy's instincts scream and his vision sharpens, sensing a bizarre and deadly danger approaching from behind. In a burst of reflex, our MC dodges an invisible cutting attack by a hair's breadth, which rips through the air of the fancy palace. After the stylish fall, the hero recomposes himself as a mysterious voice echoes through the hall, praising the impressive dodge. With a blade covered in a green aura, the attacker is impressed to see a punk read that deadly blow so early. From the shadows, the imposing Commander Fabian introduces himself, confirming that the rumors about the former trash, ranked number are real. Very politely, the hero states his own name, and the bearded man remains stunned by the level the boy's skill has reached. Keeping an eye on the kid, the chief praises the fact that the defense was executed masterfully without the use of a single drop of magical aura. Full of wisdom, our MC asks bluntly if martial arts shouldn't be forged in the heart and polished in the raw body. In a surprise lesson, he adds that the presence of an aura has no relation whatsoever to the perfection of a warrior's technique. Hearing this audacity, the commander throws his head back and lets out a monstrous laugh that shakes the stone walls. With a tear in his eye, the bearded man declares that the gossip was dead wrong about the boy and confesses he loves the cocky attitude. With his chest puffed out, the big shot bets his own name, declaring the hero as special grade and guaranteeing him VIP treatment. Desperate about the madness, the subordinate interrupts, saying the kid became the joke of the Penacor minutes ago. Furious with the interruption, the chief yells in the guard's face, saying that the number of cores means nothing in a genius. In a stern tone, Fabian decrees that pure talent deserves the world, ignoring the gossip and rules of the nobility for once. As a gift, the big shot hands a spatial pouch to the kid, saying the item is crammed with valuable supplies for him to spend. To complete the exclusive package, the master announces that the privilege includes the absolute right to choose his own place of academic torture. In front of the map, the chief explains that there are bizarre gates scattered around, and each one leads to a different inferno. Contradicting logic, the bearded man confesses that the leaders are the ones who choose the destinations, but decides to leave the tough choice to the boy. With the list in his hands, our MC doesn't think twice and immediately asks which of those doors has the most absurd resources of all. With a psychopathic smile, the commander praises his thirst for power, stating that the path of pain is the home of true artists. Pointing to the sinister door, Fabian tells the boy to pack his bag and fly over to the insane archipelago of Calabogos. In the details of the disaster, the bearded man says this is the most remote island in the empire, with no chance of rescue or ease for the recruit. In a threatening tone, the chief warns that even senior knights chicken out of the place, because the wild environment destroys the human mind. To make the gossip worse, the big shot whispers, pointing at the giant stone wolves, confirming that the zone is pure demonic territory. Facing the menacing claw-covered portal, our hero only listens to the chief's words and breaks into a smile, ready for the carnage. As he touches the purple magic door, our boy thanks Commander Fabian for the confidence he showed in him. With his mind racing, the kid reflects that training the 5 elements is tough due to the lack of a decent method. Focused on the insane plan, the hero swears he will merge all this magic into a single, utterly lethal flow. With a sly smile, our MC sees this madness as a golden opportunity to surpass his past life. Good luck, the chief wishes, as he watches the warrior disappear into the magical portal's flash. As soon as he steps onto the dangerous island of Calabogos, the boy shields his eyes from the sun and faces his new inferno. Before a colossal jungle, the vast green expanse already makes it clear that the danger here is no joke. Coming face to face with a giant knight, the kid receives a welcome right at the entrance to the dense woods. In pure gossip mode, the veteran says he's already heard the rumors about the mysterious recruit who arrived in silence. With a fixed gaze, the big guy asks bluntly if the kid is the living legend people are talking about. Very politely, the knight introduces himself as Bradley, and our MC returns the friendliness without beating around the bush. Getting straight to the point, the veteran explains that he manages the place as the leader of the first Basilisk squad. Curious, the big guy asks if the newbie has already run into the other students and gets a firm no. Leading the way, Bradley warns the kid to maintain respect for the area's bizarre veterans. To ease the tension, the knight guarantees that there's a strict rule against veterans hunting newbies. Going over the schedule, the island's chief decrees that the VIP protection lasts for exactly 6 months, on the dot. In front of a simple wooden cabin, the veteran offers basic shelter as a special courtesy. As he opens the old door, Bradley assures him that inside, he'll find the essentials for initial survival. Aware of the basics, the hero understands he'll have to fend for himself to get more resources in the wild. At the end of the tour, the big guy calmly asks if there are any remaining questions about the rules of cohabitation. Wasting no time, our MC questions the real difference between the protection period and the training. Being very clear, the veteran says that during the protection period, he helps where he can, but anything fatal is strictly forbidden. Looking for loopholes, the boy gossips about hurting rivals, and the chief firmly repeats that taking someone out is not an option. Changing the subject, our hero asks Bradley to evaluate the worth of the pouch the big shot gave him. Shocked by the treasure, the big guy stammers upon seeing 3,000 magic stones and 300 rare elixirs. With wide eyes, the knight tries to understand how a kid from a branch family got so many goodies. Playing dumb, our MC asks what these stones are and learns they are purely for expanding mana. In a quick calculation, the veteran determines that this windfall could easily take even a trash tier penta to the 5th stage. Very excited about the boy's wealth, the knight decides to give a little lesson on the 5 martial realms. With a chart in hand, the master teaches that each giant realm has 10 hidden smaller levels. Pointing to the basic level, Bradley explains that the first step is the tiring body tempering realm. Moving up the scale comes the external power realm, where people can finally unleash aura on their swords. On the 3rd step is the transcendence realm, where each crazy individual creates a unique combat style. At the OP level, the demigod realm allows the mind to invade physical reality, breaking everything. Sitting on the floor, the hero learns that the absolute top of the food chain is the unreachable divine realm. To break the mood, the knight says that only the first ancestor of the Cardenas family reached that level. Filled with rage, the big guy curses the heretics who spread false rumors about the lineage's history. Pounding his chest, the veteran swears that without the dragon ancestor, everyone today would be slaves to nasty beasts. At the end of the theory lesson, Bradley gets up, dusting himself off, and tells the kid to start training already. As a final tip, the chief tells our MC to suck the energy from the little stones to expand the mana hole in his chest. With his back to the shack, the knight wishes him good luck and disappears into the giant trees. Alone in the dark, our boy blinks, confused by the absurd speed of that explanation thrown at him. With the little magic stone in hand, the hero mutters that the energy of the environment itself is already rich by nature. With a firm mind, he tests the absorption and sucks the mana from the stone in a terrifying blink of an eye. Perplexed by the power in his veins, our MC finds it bizarre how easy it seemed to pull in energy now. Clenching his fists, the kid smirks, realizing he hit the jackpot with the island challenge. In a mental calculation, he figures he can reach the 3rd stage in just a few hours without breaking a sweat. Looking out the window, the hero thinks the idea of hitting the 5th level in a single day of training is completely crazy. With his muscles on fire, the warrior admits that the memory of his past life made everything ridiculously overpowered. With the gossips in mind, the boy deduces that leveling up so fast will raise suspicion from the armed leadership. Riding on the commander's bet, the kid decides to pretend to be a natural-born genius to fool everyone. Far away, 3 lazy veterans appear in the middle of the woods, watching our newbie's shack. Gossiping among themselves, the guys find it bizarre that the rookie has been locked up for over a month straight in the cabin. In a mocking tone, the leader of the trio bets that the punk wants to reach the 5th stage hidden from everyone else. With no patience to watch a door, the veteran calls his gang to go fishing and leaves the newbie alone for now. Annoyed with his own delay, the henchman says they need to use up the spirit stones urgently. Sad about his weakness, the extra laments that the gang still gets beaten badly by low-level goblins. To escape the conversation, the group decides to leave quickly, not giving a single thought to the rookie in the cabin. Bothered, the other colleague throws it in their faces that their skill level is an absolute embarrassment. In a twisted motivation, the partner demands that the group level up to at least orc slaying level before the deadline. Suddenly, the wooden door creaks loudly, breaking the camp's silence and drawing attention. With a firm step on the grass, our hero finally leaves the cave after a month of pure isolation. Straightening his collar, the boy immediately asks if Bradley can get him a real sword. Surprised by the punk's audacity, the knight repeats the question to confirm if he heard the crazy request correctly. Crossing his arms, the big guy demands a good reason, and the hero replies that he needs to get used to real steel. In a guard position, our MC shows off his arrogance, annoying the veteran with so much posturing for someone so young. Finding the kid too cocky, the chief kicks a bunch of heavy rocks towards his face. In a perfect dodge, our boy evades all the rocks, moving his body with absolute mastery. Stunned by the agility, the knight mentally praises the fact that the penta trash reached level 3 in a month. Aware of the absurd talent, the veteran decides he needs to give the newbie a scare, so he doesn't think he's invincible. Exploding with an insane red aura, the veteran lets out a yell and tells the apprentice to tone it down immediately. Faced with the crushing pressure on his chest, our boy backs away, completely shocked by the difference in raw power. With the blade millimeters from the kid's face, the chief smiles and tells him not to get too scared. Sheathing his weapon, the knight advises extreme caution in the woods, and the hero thanks him for the sudden concern. Playing with fire, our MC questions who's going to foot the bill if the new sword breaks during a hunt. With a smirk, the chief says the kid will have to pay for things using those magic stones. Turning his back to the newbie, Bradley says goodbye and disappears into the dense woods, leaving the recruit alone. Holding the map firmly, our hero checks the route, happy as can be for getting a real steel sword. He quickly decides on his destination and heads straight for the dangerous forest of remnants without hesitation. Right at the entrance, a band of bizarre goblins appears, drooling with hunger, charging the intruder. In the middle of the green mob, the E2 rank hobgoblins stand out, snarling and ready for carnage. Walking calmly, our MC notes that the smell of blood attracts more beasts, no matter how clean the cut is. In a swift charge, the blade flashes, and the boy promises to send the monsters to the afterlife without any pain. As soon as the beast falls, a small magic stone drops to the ground, revealing that the beast's mana becomes a spoil of war. Clenching the stone in his hand, our MC calculates that he's already gathered about 100 of them and finds the profit quite reasonable. But facing the fallen bodies, the hero sighs in frustration, as killing weak monsters doesn't bring real evolution. After all, the so-called Forest of Remnants is just a junkyard in the food chain, full of useless E-rank beasts. Suddenly, a different scent hits the kid's nose, and he jumps back, suspecting it's a gnoll. In a pure reflex, his hand tightens on the sword's hilt, already expecting a surprise attack from the shadows. Standing in the middle of the clearing, he realizes that if he doesn't hide his own presence, he'll become easy prey here. Firm in his stance, our MC raises his guard, figuring out that the enemy underestimated him, thinking he was weak. Unafraid of the danger, the kid taunts the beast in the shadows, calling the creature a mangy mutt. Furious at the insult, a giant wolf leaps from the foliage, drooling and aiming straight for the boy's neck. In a violent tear, the beast's claws destroy the stone ground while the hero escapes by a hair's breadth. Common combat, our MC tells the monster to stop screaming for no reason and come for a real one-on-one. Snarling with hatred, the giant canine bares its sharp teeth, vowing to rip the defiant kid in half. Changing his grip on the sword, the boy alters the angle of his attack, using only the raw strength of his arm. With an acrobatic leap, he brings the blade down in an insane vertical cut, kicking up dust on impact. Mentally, the hero notes that the beast's strength is far superior to that of a common null and suspects a mutation. By the camp's logic, a normal E1 rank goblin evolves into an E2 hobgoblin. Following the rule, a standard null is usually classified as D4 rank in the beast hierarchy. However, the monsters gain monstrous power right after their first natural evolution. Blocking a heavy attack, the kid grumbles that this creature is far from a common D2. Identifying the beast as a D3 null, our warrior cracks a dark smile, seeing that the fight is inevitable. Boiling with adrenaline, our MC's eyes gleam intensely, and he charges forward, focused on annihilating the target. Surprised by the speed, the monster's eyes widen as it takes a brutal reversal without even seeing where it came from. In the blade's wake, blue sparks cut through the air, showing our boy's absurd level of technique. Assessing the movements, the hero realizes the wolf attacks in a completely wild and patternless way. Dodging lightly, the kid scoffs mentally, saying those slow blows will never hit their target. Suddenly, the beast tries a cowardly side attack, but our MC's sword blocks the advance at the perfect moment. The clash between the weapons is so violent it sends sparks flying, proving the furry beast's absurd strength. In a blind fury, the monster raises a giant stone axe and slams the weapon with all its might into the dirt ground. With the enemy's weapon stuck in the ground, our MC figures out that the beast only has brute strength and advances to punish the mistake. In a swift side charge, the steel blade hits the beast's rib squarely, drawing a roar of pain. Despite the clean hit, the kid notices that the creature's skin and bones are as hard as solid rock. To solve the problem quickly, he aims directly for a vital point that has no protection on the beast. In a precise upward thrust, the sword pierces the monster's throat, ending the game. Powerless, the giant canine collapses heavily to the ground, kicking up a dense cloud of dust in the forest. Standing beside the carcass, the warrior takes a deep breath and is surprised by the reward that dropped from the beast. Pulling out the shiny stone, he celebrates the medium-grade loot, which is worth 100 normal stones at once. Looking at the loot, the hero deduces that hunting creatures like this will make his internal energy skyrocket very quickly. Cleaning his blade, he understands perfectly why the veteran knights ignore that useless hunting area. Far from the commotion, our MC finds an isolated magic cave and passes right through the barrier of light. Sitting on the stone floor, he closes his eyes and focuses entirely on absorbing the mana from the conquered stones. In record time, the energy overflows, and the boy surprisingly reaches the 10th stage of body tempering. Worried about his own genius, he knows that a pentacore leveling up so fast will cause huge problems. Devising a plan, the kid thinks of a way to gather supplies without drawing the attention of the base's gossips. 3 months pass, and outside, the veterans complain that the newbie has vanished and hasn't shown his face in the sun once. Tired of the routine, the extras grumble about having to check the shack's door every single day. One of the henchmen argues that they need to be the first nice veterans the rookie meets. In their self-serving minds, creating ties with the Cardanas family prodigy is the best weapon for their future. After all, even the fearsome commander of the order is keeping an eye on the kid, proving the boy is worth his weight in gold. Pushed by his friends, the guy named Hayden is forced to knock on the door to bring a treat to the isolated newbie. Placing the bucket of fish on the ground, the veteran calls for the recruit and warns that an empty stomach is no good for training. In a deathly silence, Hayden freezes in terror, thinking the rookie has kicked the bucket inside, and decides to bolt. Listening from inside the cabin, the hero understands that the gang was just scouting the area out of pure self-interest. Peeking through a crack in the door, the kid memorized Hayden's scared face very well. Calculating the risks, our MC figures that using his own face will attract attention, but no one would suspect a veteran. To act in the shadows, he decides to resort to an ancient and bizarre technique called the art of reverse utilization. Concentrating his ki in his face, the boy begins to manipulate his own veins and muscles, changing his bone structure. During the process, he remembers using this flesh mask a lot to hide his identity as an emperor. With a bizarre crack, the transformation completes, totally changing our hero's face in a flash of magic. Under the light of the full moon, the door finally opens, and the mysterious rookie hits the streets in the dead of night. Completely unrecognizable, he raises his hands to check his body and confirms that the copy of Hayden is perfect. Assuming his new identity, the fake veteran smiles mischievously, warning that he's going to cause a lot of trouble out there. 3 more months pass, and the scene shifts to the terrifying, death-stinking swamp of the Boneyard. Stepping into the toxic mud, the boy repeats the golden rule of the place: stating that there are no allies here. Hidden in the bushes, he notices that every bizarre creature in that place carries a deadly venom or cheap agility. On full alert, our MC advances step by step, knowing that any noise could attract the end of the world. Focused on survival, the warrior mutters that letting his guard down for a second means becoming a monster's dinner. With a sure-footed leap into the bog, the boy declares he won't become dinner for some monster hiding in the mud. Straight from the murky waters, a giant lizard opens its mouth wide, wanting to devour the fresh meat. With his sword covered in blue lightning, the hero splits the beast in half with an incredibly swift blow. Without losing momentum, he slices another hideous creature that tried to cowardly attack from behind. Perched on a branch, the kid grumbles that he made too much noise and certainly woke up the area's big boss. In the middle of the dense fog, a huge troll appears, holding a super threatening stone spear. Filled with rage, the big monster readies its weapon, focused purely on impaling the defiant kid without mercy. Dodging with pure ease, our MC mocks the beast, saying it's fast but a terrible fighter. Charging forward with everything, our warrior slices the giant, saying he has no time to waste here. Sheathing his weapon, the boy celebrates the magic stones he collected and decides to change scenery quickly. Mentally, he calculates that he's gathered more than enough resources to level up in one go and smiles. But advancing a stage generates an aura explosion that would completely ruin his disguise. Looking around carefully, our MC searches for an enclosed space to muffle the flash of his evolution. Suddenly, his eyes focus on a bizarre structure abandoned in the middle of the dark thicket. Walking to the spot, the hero comes across ancient ruins that seem like the perfect hideout. His eyes widening, the boy finds an entire farm of extremely rare spiritual herbs in the undergrowth. The joy is short-lived as a buff. Scarred troll appears, protecting the treasure. Out of nowhere, the big guy shudders, feeling a menacing threat approaching very quickly. Hidden behind a rock, our hero also feels the absurd pressure and decides to just watch the fight. Pounding his chest hard, the stone giant gets into a combat stance, waiting for the intruder. Emerging from the shadows, a furious werewolf attacks, sinking its claws directly into the cave's guardian. In the extremely violent impact, blue lightning shoots out everywhere, proving the beast's strength. Assessing the scene, our MC is stunned to see a wild beast mastering the element of thunder. Fascinated by the power, the kid assumes it's a brutal and bloody fight for territory. In response, the troll lifts tons of rock with its mind, wanting to crush the furry enemy. Showing off pure agility, the werewolf escapes the flying meteors at an insane speed. Following that, an all-out brawl ensues, destroying the entire clearing without any mercy for the plants. Realizing the fight will go on for a while, our boy comes up with a much smarter and quieter plan. Leaving the fight behind, he decides to invade the boss's cave while the door is completely clear. Tiptoeing into the darkness, the hero is sure he'll find a hidden gem in there. Deep inside the cave, the boy notices that the sound of the war has completely vanished. Illuminating the absolute darkness, a magnificent golden tree appears, leaving the kid stunned. Shocked by its beauty, he wonders if the brute was cultivating that magical marvel all by himself. But his instincts scream, and the warrior finds it strange not to have felt that monstrous mana from outside. Reaching out a curious hand, he hits an invisible wall that protects the glowing plant from the world. By touch, the mystical barrier vibrates, revealing the perfect trick that isolated the pure energy there. With a roguish smile, our MC understands that the shield prevented other beasts from finding the cave. Getting very close to the tree, the boy is fascinated and admits that the plant defies real logic. Akel taking a glistening leaf, he wonders in amazement what kind of rare gem this is in his hand. Eager to absorb it all, the kid is interrupted by a giant and extremely threatening shadow. Coming face to face with the guardian, the hero says that the visitor knocked on the door much earlier than expected. In an instinctive leap, he dodges the attack and grumbles that the anti-noise barrier messed up his tactical radar. Facing the beast, the boy breathes a sigh of relief upon seeing that the monster is all beaten up and dripping something. Analyzing the damage, the warrior deduces that the werewolf did a fine job before kicking the bucket. Ignoring its own pain, the furious troll rips a chunk of the ground and throws it with all its might at the intruder. Escaping the deadly rock, the hero jumps back, disappearing into the dense smoke of the impact. Quick on the uptake, the kid notices that the beast destroyed the exit on purpose to close the cage. Accepting the dangerous duel, the boy summons blue lightning, decreeing that the real fight has begun. Stomping his foot with brute force, the monster makes the ceiling crack, dropping huge rocks on his own head. In a chaotic scene, massive rocks plummet, threatening to crush the defiant kid at all costs. Running through the rubble, the hero grumbles that the beast has resorted to area damage, cutting off his space. Launching even more projectiles, the big guy proves he doesn't care at all about destroying his own home. In an insane balancing act, our MC dodges at the last second, knowing that one slip up here means a certain end. Praising the enemy's mind, the boy admits the beast's intelligence and decides to change his attack tactic. Focusing all his remaining mana, the sword lights up with a violent thunder, illuminating the damp cave. Faced with the deadly glow, the big monster backs away in fear as the warrior promises a one-hit kill. Grunting in pure panic, the beast hastily raises an earth shield to block the blue lightning. Piercing the defense like wet paper, our MC cuts through the rock in a deadly, super fast zigzag. Mentally, the hero laments that the armor saved the beast from an instant demise by a hair's breadth, but suddenly, the troll's body bursts into flames, leaving the boy completely shocked. Engulfed in flames, the giant becomes a living furnace, illuminating the cave with fiery hatred. The absurd heat melts the air, forcing the kid to shield his face to avoid being fried alive. Taking a tactical distance, the hero finally understands how the OP werewolf ended up as barbecue outside. Staring at the fire, our MC throws it in the beast's face that it was hiding its dual power this whole time. Snarling like a demon, the flaming giant bares its fangs, ready to melt the defiant human. Assessing the furnace, the warrior backs away, knowing that getting close now is absolute suicide. Pushing off the wall hard, he knows that one touch of that aura means melted bones instantly. Cold and very calculating, the boy waits for the perfect opening, stating that he only has one chance to strike. The moment the beast lifts its foot, spreading fire, our MC yells that the golden opportunity has arrived. In a precise leap, our hero jumps high, passing right over the bowling smoke. Looking down at his prey, the adrenaline hits, and he feels a bizarre longing for his old life as a master. Drawing his blade swiftly, the blue energy explodes in the air, and he declares the end of the line for the monster. Descending like a furious meteor, the boy cuts through the air in a suicidal dive full of killing intent. Tearing through the fire aura with pure force, the steel meets the giant's skin with a devastating impact. Without giving any chance for defense, the hero slices the fire monster right down the middle without any mercy. Piercing through the beast's chest, the bluish sword sprays boiling blood all over the cave. Landing firmly on the ground, the boy declares victory, thinking the deadly fight has finally come to an end. However, the hole in the giant's chest begins to glow intensely with a super, threatening purple hue. Without any warning, the big monster's body detonates in a colossal explosion of fire and pure fury. Caught completely by surprise, the hero is thrown into the air, cursing the point-blank detonation in his face. The shockwave sweeps through the entire cave, engulfing everything in a true inferno of destructive flames. Hitting his back violently against the stone wall, the boy spits something, feeling his bones crack. Falling to his knees, he coughs uncontrollably, realizing the impact crushed his fragile ribs. Looking at the chaos, the kid warns that the cave will turn into a crematorium in less than 5 minutes. Firm in his mind, he accepts that there's no magical rescue, and he needs to find a way to save himself. Taking a deep breath, the warrior leans against the rock and decides to force his evolution to the next realm, the hard way. Taking the magic stones from his pocket, he remembers that leveling up miraculously heals the physical body. Without hesitation, his bloodied hand clutches the crystals, ready to risk his own life in the tense process. Summoning a blue aura, the boy screams in pain, pulling all the raw energy directly into his injured veins. Feeling the magic work, he notices the pure mana reconstructing his internal organs in a painful blink of an eye. With the blue light pulsing strongly, the kid's heart is repaired, pushing imminent danger far away. Getting up slowly, the hero grumbles that the 1,500 stones alone won't be enough for the heavy task. Walking to the golden tree, he decides to absorb the spiritual herbs to top off his energy tank. Plucking a mystical leaf, the warrior devours the pure aura, feeling his stomach burn with so much power. In a colossal explosion of mana, the boy's body hits its limit, and the level barrier finally cracks. Spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, the 5 cores rotate in sync, creating a completely absurd magical vortex. Feeling the perfect fusion, he mutters in shock that the 5 energies are becoming a single, lethal entity. Floating in the middle of the blue hurricane, our MC celebrates the creation of a supreme and overpowered mana heart. With his wounds closed, the kid smiles victoriously, finally reaching the coveted external power realm. Even after leveling up, the magical gale doesn't stop, scaring the boy with the infinite power being absorbed. Taking the form of a giant dragon, the aura roars loudly, showing the fury of the pure Cardana's lineage. When the light finally subsides, the hero falls, sitting on the grass, sighing with relief under the glowing tree. Checking his own body, he confirms with amazement that he jumped straight to the 3rd stage in a surreal leap. Scoffing at his rivals, he remembers there are veterans stuck in the 2nd stage for years on that useless island. Testing his reflexes, the kid laughs with satisfaction, noticing that his mana flow is 1,000 times faster now. Clenching his fist, the warrior admits he never imagined growing so much by breaking a single barrier in his life. Looking at the ashes on the floor, he wonders how he didn't turn into barbecue in the beast's infernal heat explosion. Suddenly, his eyes focus on a round, brightly shining fruit on a branch of the mystical tree. Taking the gem in his hand, the boy understands that the plant's excess energy created a perfect protective shield. Assessing the preserved area, he figures out that the tree saved his life from the out-of-control inferno of flames. Clutching the magic fruit, our MC feels the absurd power flowing and vows not to waste the valuable gift. Fascinated by the magic, the hero deduces that the fruit swallowed the residual mana of the entire cave to exist. As a form of gratitude, he says he will cherish the gem, promising to replant the seed in the future. Dashing towards the exit, the warrior races against time, knowing he needs to get back to his own shack quickly. Breaking through the darkness in a leap, he reaches the open forest, feeling the cool breeze on his victorious face. Landing heavily in the woods, the kid laughs, confessing he got too strong and almost overdid it in training. Spotting the cabin from afar, the boy mentally hopes that no one noticed his absence in the last few hours. Using the reverse technique on his veins, he undoes the fake face, returning to being the same old goofy rookie. With his original face, the hero decides to pack his bags, as training in the same spot has completely lost its appeal. Turning the handle very slowly, the old shack door finally opens, drawing attention from outside. Immediately, the three gossiping veterans look on, mega startled, seeing the newbie emerge from his den for the first time in a month. Running over, N introduces himself in a friendly manner, telling the rookie not to be afraid of the big guys in the woods. With a fake bow, our hero politely introduces himself, playing along with the group's dirty game. With a fake smile, the veteran confesses he's stuck in his training and asks for a friendly little fight right there. Feigning extreme innocence, the boy accepts the proposal on the spot, saying it will be an honor to get beat up a little. Drawing his wooden sword, Anne tells the kid to follow him, vowing to teach him the ways of the Cardenas elite. Full of pure swagger, the veteran calls our MC out for a duel, wanting to show once and for all who's boss in this part of the forest. Charging with everything, the big guy tries a clean strike but realizes with frustration that he only hit empty air. Not understanding a thing, Ain goes flying upside down, taking a devastating counter-attack to the back. Defeated and humiliated on the ground, Gale steps forward, indignant at his annoying teammate's nasty fall. Attacking with blind hatred, the second extra also eats dust. The kid dodges with just a smile. Watching the double humiliation, Hayden curses loudly, refusing to believe the rookie's absurd skill. Losing his patience completely, the leader advances, covered in aura, wanting to crush the punk once and for all. But to everyone's total shock, our warrior defends the blow using his own flaming mana sword. Terrified by the deadly power, Ain yells at the leader, asking why he's using aura in a silly training session. Completely ignoring his friend, Hayden breaks into a cold sweat, staring at the rookie who smiles while holding the glowing sword. With the most shameless expression, our MC apologizes, saying he used the mana defense purely out of self-preservation instinct. Looking at his own trembling, bleeding hand, the veteran understands with shock that the block tore his skin. With a very cynical smile, our kid says that a wooden sword isn't everything in a real fight. Tossing out verbal bait, the hero says he was going to repay the favor of their visit, but decided to learn a little more by taking a beating. Gripping the handle of his training weapon, the boy swears he can't wait for the next beatdown sessions. Covered by the sunlight and a lot of blue aura, the rookie turns the little lesson into a true tactical nightmare for the gang. Trembling in their boots, the trio's eyes go wide, and they decide to run far away from the monster disguised as a human. Making up a very flimsy excuse, Hayden announces that the night's training has been cancelled due to real unforeseen circumstances. Hearing their ridiculous whining, the big guy Bradley comes through the gate, wanting to know the reason for the kids shouting. Looking at our MC calmly, the chief asks if the newbie knows about the giant explosion over in the swamp. Scratching his sweaty head, the knight gossips that an insane werewolf fought hard for territory nearby. In the raw details of the gossip, he says the troll was turned into barbecue, and the wolf had its skin completely ripped from its body. Pointing to the dark woods, Bradley decrees that the swamp has now turned into total chaos, with weak monsters fighting for power. To sort out the mess of the night training, the big guy says the team will have a lot of work ahead of them. With a clean throw, Bradley tosses a heavy package towards the rookie as a tactical little gift. Aware that the kid broke several swords just messing around, the chief brought 5 brand new blades. With a satisfied smile, the warrior thanks him for the support, while the veteran asks not to be forgotten when he's famous. As he's leaving, the big guy warns the newbie to avoid the swamp at all costs on this dangerous day. With pure fakeness, our MC nods, thinking it's perfect that the confusion is drawing the guards away from the entire map. Without wasting a single second, the boy decides this is the golden opportunity to explore forbidden areas. With the hood of his dark cloak pulled up, he bets all his chips on the reverse technique to walk in the shadows. Mentally, the kid calculates that running into extras, while wearing Hayden's face, would cause a lot of trouble. To solve the dilemma, he puts on the skin of the dead werewolf, hiding his own mana from the snoops. Completely camouflaged in the jungle, the warrior celebrates the rare chance to hunt without anyone bugging him. Far from the main camp, the boy advances into a sinister and super mysterious area of the island. Facing the dreaded old plains, the hero readies his sword, focused on slicing whatever comes his way. In a bizarre silence, the woods make no noise, and the tension rises with every step on the dry earth. With his radar picking up a killing intent, the kid finds it strange that the creature doesn't strike right away. Tired of waiting for the attack, the warrior grumbles that all this cowardice is just a useless waste of time. Out of nowhere, the ground trembles with a brutal gust of wind, and a giant shadow rips through the skies above him. After a majestic landing, a colossal obear shows its sharp claws, kicking up dust on the ground. With his eyes fixed on the beast, the boy asks in a mocking tone if that thing is the first challenger. With his sword ready to cut, the hero decrees that the beast is the ideal test subject for his new magical powers. Far from the plains, several boats dock on the beach, confirming the unwanted arrival of intruders. In the mission report, a masked henchman says they lost 2 members in the middle of the rough sea. Without a shred of pity, the leader deduces that the weak ones fell into the water and became fish food along the way. Seething with pure hatred, the commander of the Shadows curses the heavens for the bad luck right at the start of the invasion. In a furious tone, the chief yells for no one to let the dead be in vain and orders the troops to advance and kill. With fire in his eyes, the villain orders the capture of the rookie alive to extract the secrets of the lineage. With brutal orders, the leader demands they slice up even children, claiming that Cardina's blood is pure evil. In the middle of the rocky desert, the wind howls loudly, muffling the intruder's steps on the dry earth. In pure panic, one of the assassins runs, sweating coldly, grumbling that he got separated from the group in the blink of an eye. Terrified of the A-rank beasts, the intruder cries, admitting that walking alone here is guaranteed suicide. Completely nervous, the henchman questions what the heck the knights are doing in a monster-infested inferno. Relieved for a second, he notices that the plains seem deserted and without any giant threats nearby. Under the illusion of being safe, he spots a red aura in the center and thinks the beasts vanished on their own. Coming face to face with the obear, the assassin underestimates the beast, swearing he can annihilate the furball with a single slap. With poisoned daggers in hand, the masked intruder charges the giant silhouette with fury. On the deadly impact, the villain gets a bizarre shock upon seeing that the beast's head was already severed on the ground. Stepping onto the blood-soaked ground, the henchman's legs tremble as he realizes another hunter has cleared the area. Faced with the carnage, he gulps, noticing dozens of colossal bears annihilated by one monster. In the middle of the tension, a swift blade cuts through the air, forcing the assassin to yell, "Who's there?" With a metallic clang, our hero deflects the dagger and appears imposing, returning the question with a scoff. In total shock, the intruder's eyes widen under his mask, panicking at the presence. In a brutal charge, our MC shoves the guy far away, demanding to know what hole the extra crawled out of. With his sword at the enemy's throat, the hero jokes that he'll get the gossip out of him by brute force. Hating his own luck, the assassin mentally grumbles for having lost his voice in the scare. With no way out, the villain resorts to throwing a shower of poisoned blades straight at the kid's face. With full awareness of the threat, the boy says he won't go easy on trash that plays dirty. With pure speed, the hero's sword deflects all the deadly daggers as if they were feathers in the wind. Completely in shock, the henchman almost cries, seeing a punk break his surprise attack in an instant. In a swift leap, the masked man retreats with all his might, desperately trying to escape the boy's aim. But in a second, the warrior is already on his shadow, delivering a devastating frontal cut. With a confused expression, the hero notices the cut was shallow and deduces that a magic shield saved the target. In the absurd opening, the henchman throws a crazy chain, snaring our kid's sword on the spot. With heavy magic, the assassin summons a snake aura, betting his own life on the venomous trap. With total disdain, our MC scoffs at the sneaky ability, calling the technique cowardly and obvious. Pulling his weapon with a lot of swagger, the kid humiliates the enemy, saying his tricks are boring. With his aura at maximum, the hero throws it in the villain's face that he's only used to killing harmless losers. In a violent magical explosion, the chains crack in the middle, freeing the trap blade effortlessly. Pitying the assassin, the boy says the guy made a stupid mistake by focusing only on his sword. Without a weapon in hand, our MC shocks the enemy by clenching his fists with raw energy, ready to detonate. With a devastating punch, the kid smashes the villain's nose, finding it hilarious that the guy underestimated his bare hands. Thrown far by the raw impact, the assassin flies, spitting blood, unable to accept the imminent beating. All broken, the henchman wonders if that demon kid has already awakened his pure, cursed lineage. Already tied to a rock and without mana, the intruder hears our MC coldly say that his life is hanging by a thread. Dirty with something on the ground, the defeated man curses the kid as a coward, refusing to bow his head to the enemy. Screaming, the masked man calls the hero a filthy monster, swearing that the Shadow's revenge will be cruel. Without any emotion, the boy maintains a neutral and completely bored expression at the villain's tantrum. Pulling his sword with telekinesis, the hero returns the insult, pointing out the magical enemy's hypocrisy. Seething with blind rage, The prisoner yells that playing dirty with the Cardenas family is an absolute honor. Trapped in useless ropes, the henchman refuses to pass any tactical gossip to the preppy rich kid. With no way out, the assassin begs for his end, demanding that the rookie end his suffering at once. With an icy gaze, our MC says that the cornered trash doesn't even have the right to ask for that now. Stubborn to the very last second, the intruder swears eternal silence and curses our heroes in pure blood. With the golden crest in hand, the warrior raises an eyebrow, intrigued by the gossip about the lineage. With open wounds, the henchman yells that the bloody sins of the noble family will never be washed away. In the intruder's crazy view, House Cardenas is a nest of demons that creates unnatural atrocities. Smiling coldly, our MC realizes that the family's dark past is the enemy's great weak point. Under the moonlight, our hero demands answers about the grim secrets of this mysterious lineage. In a fit of rage, the villain questions the reason for so much secrecy, since the family should own everything. Spitting the words, the henchman accuses House Cardenas of throwing their honor in the trash just to kidnap children. Mocking our MC's face, the masked man says that discovering the past doesn't change the life of low-class trash. Staring at the enemy with contempt, our boy listens silently to the insults about not honoring his own ancestors. Seething with hatred, the assassin yells for the newbie to tone it down, thinking he's dealing with a mere amateur. With an absurd calm, the hero casually mentions that the villain came from cruises, leaving the guy in absolute shock. Losing patience, our MC steps firmly on the prisoner, using blue energy to jog the poor guy's memory. Feeling the pain, the henchman groans as the warrior teaches him that a disturbed mind spills everything without realizing it. Pointing his finger, the boy decrees that the enemy will spit out the whole truth before frying in his own mana. Pulling up a history lesson, the hero recalls that Cruces was the famous Holy Land of Knights in the past. However, that empire fell hard after taking a crushing defeat from the Red Dragon Knights. Thanks to that brutal victory, the Cardenas family stole the title and became the new supreme power in the world. Putting the pieces together, our MC questions if this whole invasion is just sour grapes to try and reclaim their lost fame. With a sly smile, the kid admits that digging into the main family's secrets is also in his interest. But the real problem now is the presence of absurdly strong figures from the Transcendence realm invading the island. Wasting no time, the boy decides the best move is to run and spill everything to the big guy, Bradley. Focused on the danger, the hero concludes that going head to head with the Shadow Knights of Cruces is pure stupidity. In a burst of lightning, our MC finishes off the prisoner for good, stating that the level of this war is way too serious. Wiping his hands, he grumbles that his own technique is still too amateur to take on an army like that. Taking the opportunity, our warrior loots the magical items from the fallen villain to gain an advantage in the fight. With the heavy body on his back, the kid says he'll take the past, out trash along to prove his story. Walking through the jungle, the boy tells the prisoner not to complain about the unpleasant ride in the middle of the night. The scene then cuts to the peaceful tents of the cadet camp, in the middle of nowhere. Back at the base, the annoying Ann and his gang finally relax, celebrating a bit of peace in their training. Suddenly, the calm is shattered when the group notices a sinister silhouette approaching in the dark. With a dull thud, the hero throws the tied-up body right in the middle of the group, scaring everyone on the spot. With the henchman groaning in pain, our MC tells the extras to stop the drama and go get the chief fast. Seeing the bizarre scene, Commander Bradley's eyes go wide, unable to believe the size of the trouble that's been stirred up. Analyzing the cuts, the big guy decrees that the wounds were made by a high-level arrow blade. With the written confession in hand, the knight confirms that the kid's story is 100% real and dangerous. On the crumpled paper, the henchman detailed all the crimes and cruel attacks against the youth of that camp. Desperate, the chief reads that the Shadows of Cruces are marching with full force to the center of the island to kill everyone. Pulling his hair, the veteran says they could maybe take on the henchman, but their leader is a monster. In a shouted order, Bradley tells Aang to sound the general alarm for the entire island to wake up to the immediate danger. Cutting through the night sky, a red flare explodes, warning that war has knocked on everyone's door. In the blink of an eye, dozens of armed knights start running to form a tactical defense line. Smirking, our hero finds the decision to gather all combat forces in one place very clever. In the middle of the courtyard, the commander yells to the group, warning them that this is far from a simulation. Telling it like it is, the chief says the invading military force is huge and wants to spill Cardena's blood without mercy. By the math of terror, there are 30 overpowered henchmen and a master swordsman at the top of the food chain. To give a sense of the disaster, the veteran compares the villain's strength to the feared Commander Fabian himself. With a tense voice, the big guy calls the enemies walking catastrophes where normal numbers don't matter. With no way out, the chief gives the group the option to activate the escape portal to hide or fight to the death right there. Pointing his sword, Bradley demands that the apprentices decide now if they'll flee like rats or face the inferno. Thoughtfully, our boy deduces that a real war is the best possible training for those who don't perish in the process. Cold as ever, the kid agrees that you can't judge anyone who bails and runs from this certain carnage. Surprising everyone, our MC takes a step forward and shouts with conviction that he's heading straight for the fight. Buying into the rookie's courage, Anne and his gang draw their weapons, swearing they won't be cowards either. Satisfied with the group's attitude, the hero cracks a smile, admitting they earned his respect today. In a deafening chorus, the entire battalion raises their steel to the sky, roaring that they will defend the base, no matter the cost. In full battle formation, the army of apprentices becomes a human wall, ready for the brutal clash. Proud of the boys, the commander promises to call Fabian's troops to deal with the OP Master Swordsmen. With the sun rising on the blood-stained horizon, the chief tells everyone to prepare for the great massacre. Far from the crowd, our hero secretly climbs down into the dirt pit he dug near his own cabin. As a VIP-protected target, the kid was evacuated but decided to check the stolen magical tools first. Sitting in the dark, the boy analyzes a shiny green ring confiscated from the defeated masked assassin. The moment he injects pure energy into the jewel, the piece of junk ring explodes into 1,000 pieces, hurting his hand. With his face dirty with magical dust, the hero grumbles, seeing the shards of the useless artifact scattered on the floor. Thinking quickly, the warrior concludes that his new mana heart rejects normal items because it's too strong. Rummaging through the junk, he notices that the only thing that survived was the communication flare of the dark villains. With a sadistic plan in mind, the kid decides to use the device as bait to ambush the dark-robed crew. Climbing out of the hole at 1,000 miles per hour, the boy focuses on avoiding only the gang's OP leaders so he doesn't perish early. Tearing through the forest like a lightning bolt, the hero swears he won't let any henchman destroy the island's peace. In the middle of the woods, two assassins stop, confused, as they pick up a reinforcement signal from the radio transmitter. Too dumb, the intruders think it's a partner asking for help and completely lower their tactical guard. Laughing at their naivety, our MC advances relentlessly, promising to crush them both with a single scare, just for fun. Over in the dreaded Lion's Ravine, the ground trembles with giant magical explosions tearing up the dry earth. In a thunderous impact, a purple blast sweeps the scene, showing that the fight there is at a chaotic level. Surrounded by a colossal monster, the assassins curse House Cardenas while trying not to get sliced up. Desperate, they face an A-rank manticore, assuming the beast is too strong for them to handle. Bleeding and with no way out, the henchmen give up on the invasion and decide to flee to avoid becoming the Chimera's dinner. In the middle of their escape, they spot a partner in a dark cloak arriving and immediately call for help. But in a fatal spin, the supposed ally slices the group up by surprise, splattering blood all over the ravine. With lightning tearing through the air, the assassin beheads the beasts and says they've already lost 3 henchmen in the ravine. Caught by surprise, the masked man freezes, trying to understand how the hero knows how to use that bizarre technique. Mocking the villain's face, our boy confesses that he just provoked him a little and already discovered his weakness. Blinded by humiliation, the henchman charges, cursing the kid as a scoundrel with fire in his eyes. Without breaking a sweat, our MC blocks the blow, saying that blind rage is a warrior's greatest flaw. Charging like a madman, the intruder tells the devil to shut up, swearing vengeance for his fallen partners. With a clean dodge, the hero just mutters that they're a bunch of idiots with no hope. Appearing behind the enemy, the warrior asks if the fool forgot about the giant beast right beside him. With a terrifying roar, the A-rank manticore shows its bizarre face, full of distorted human faces. Soon the colossal chimera surrounds the assassin, ready to crush the intruder who invaded its territory. Assessing the creature, our MC remembers that its power comes from its heads, but finds it strange that the beast suddenly speaks. Breaking all logic, the monstrous beast opens its bizarre mouth and speaks with a deep, very human voice. Completely stunned, our kid's eyes go wide, unable to believe an irrational beast can talk. Staring at the boy, the beast admits bluntly that if it's a 1-on-1 against him, its demise is a certainty. However, the chimera warns that it will put up a fight and buy time until a certain supreme leader appears on the scene. Admiring its intelligence, the warrior praises the beast's ability to gauge strength with just a raw look. Putting the pieces together, the hero deduces that the expected reinforcement is the so-called Fifth Shadow, leader of the invaders. Remembering the Master Swordsman, the boy admits that facing that monster now is certain suicide. Suspicious of the beast, our warrior says you can't trust the word of a manipulative creature. Without beating around the bush, the giant monster calls for a fight, telling the hero to advance if he's not afraid of what comes next. With a sly smile, the kid praises the beast's courage and decides to spare its life, just for today. But the chimera doesn't want peace and fires its deadly tentacles, cursing the human as a fool. With a feline reflex, our MC was already expecting the betrayal and dodges the treacherous blow with total ease. With sword in hand, the boy accelerates, tearing through the wind straight towards the mutt, like monster. Bringing down his bluish blade, he says the first cut goes straight for the creature's bizarre head. Hit squarely, the beast's eyes widen, realizing the punk has already figured out its weak spot. In a devastating combo, the hero hits the chimera's lungs, knocking all the air out of the beast with his blows. Spinning in the air like a lightning bolt, the kid prepares the third and final deadly strike without giving it a chance to breathe. Piercing its heart, our MC ends the fight, saying he's in a hurry and needs to get out of there fast. With the job done, the warrior gains distance, landing softly on the earth as the beast collapses lifelessly. Suddenly, a crushing pressure appears from the sky, confirming that the boss of the shadows has finally arrived. Seeing the dead chimera, the master grumbles that he arrived too late and missed the chance to kill everyone at once. With a lethal sense of smell, the villain stares into the dark woods, yelling to know who's hiding nearby. Hidden among the rocks, the hero breaks into a cold sweat, shocked by the enemy's radar, and decides to slip away quietly. With a colossal cut, the master destroys the ground, forcing the kid to use the tunnel he dug to escape with his life. Finding no one, the boss lowers his sword, thinking his mind played a trick on him in the middle of the swamp. Blaming stress, the villain grumbles that the main plan has gone completely off the rails. Passing by the sliced-up henchmen, the leader promises that their sacrifice will not be in vain. With a smile under his mask, the master says that the true objective of the invasion has already been accomplished. As soon as the monster disappears from view, our hero emerges from the hole, dirty with earth, and breathes a huge sigh of relief. Wiping off the dust, he finds a fallen Cardana's knight on the ground, on his last legs. Spitting blood, the injured veteran looks at the boy and mutters, trying to call for urgent help. In his last breath, the guard cries, saying that a single swordsman massacred 40 veterans there. Grabbing the kid's clothes, the dying soldier gossips about the 8 newbies who disappeared from the base. With a weak voice, he reveals that the group was captured and taken hostage by the cowardly invaders. Closing the dead soldier's eyes, the hero understands the weight of the kidnapping and the failure of the island's security. Thoughtfully, the warrior tries to understand the logistics of dragging hostages away without anyone noticing the movement. Figuring out the evil plan, the kid deduces that the guys want live test subjects for the cursed Cardana's blood. Soon, it clicks, and he understands that there's only one magic capable of transporting such a large group so stealthily. Remembering his lessons, he mentions mass teleport, an extremely rare scroll that moves entire armies. Wasting no time, the boy decides he needs to act fast before the hostages disappear from the map for good. In a tactical calculation, he concludes that a teleport like that requires a lot of open space, revealing the final destination. Running into the woods, our MC bumps into a guard and asks if Chief Bradley is already on the villain's tail. Touching the watchman's shoulder, the hero tells the guy to rest, catching the poor fellow completely by surprise. In a quick blow with blue energy, the kid knocks the veteran out on the spot to prevent him from raising the alarm. With the unconscious body on his shoulder, the boy grumbles that the commander is looking in the wrong place. Putting on the villain's cloak, he knows that warning them as a mere recruit won't convince the foolish leadership. Resorting to an extreme tactic, the warrior decides to lure the big guy from Cardina's into the trap by force. Far away, the army of apprentices follows Bradley, marching tensely through the dense forest. Furious, the commander curses the invaders as cowards for disappearing from the area without a real fight. Suddenly, the veteran's eyes go wide, and he yells at the woods upon seeing a hooded figure moving. Without ceremony, our fake villain throws the unconscious guard right at the feet of the Cardina's troops. Seeing the dark clothes, Bradley seethes with hatred, concluding that the rat is one of the assassins from Cruces. With a war cry, the chief orders the entire battalion to attack and annihilate the insolent intruder now. With a backflip, the kid smiles under his mask, telling the group to come after him. Blinded by fury, the big guy leads the charge, running like a bull and promising to rip the rat's head off. Leaping between branches, our hero dodges spears and swords without breaking a sweat. Impressed, the chief praises the enemy's absurd speed, thinking the guy is an elite henchman. Seeing the landscape open up, the warrior celebrates mentally, as his bait plan worked perfectly. Reaching his target, Bradley brings his heavy sword down, cursing the villain with all the force of his lungs. Dodging at the last second, our MC gets out of the way, revealing the giant beach that the troops hadn't even noticed they'd reached. Hidden in the tall grass, the boy hopes the chief survives, warning that the dark boss is in the area. At the water's edge, the Master of Shadows appears, mocking Bradley for falling into the sand trap. Face to face, the veteran accuses the masked man of being the leader, while the villain calls the fight a glorious step. With his green sword glowing, the villain tells the chief to calm down, while Bradley demands total surrender. With a sadistic smile, the masked man scoffs, asking if the group thought they invaded the island without any plan up their sleeve. Firing off some insane green magic, the villain gets straight to the point, saying the commander is completely defeated. Seething with hatred, Bradley holds his sword, realizing it's a mass teleport, and swears he won't let the scoundrel escape. Full of swagger, the enemy reveals there are 15 minutes until full activation and promises to be the big guy's personal opponent until then. Launching a devastating green aura attack, the assassin tells the knight to struggle all he wants in the arena. Suffering from the crushing pressure, the veteran grits his teeth, trying to withstand the wave of the brutal impact. Watching the cheap shot from afar, an ally cheers, sweating coldly, begging the big guy to hold on just a little longer. Appearing out of nowhere with his face covered, our boy says in a cold tone that he'll take care of rescuing the prisoners. In the center of the enemy camp, a giant magic circle glows on the ground, preparing the coward's escape. Nearby, the cruise's henchmen make their rounds, watching the hostages tied up in the main tent. Completely camouflaged in the shadows, our MC notices the guards have let their guard down and decides now is the time to strike. Treating softly, the hero lands right behind the kidnapped knights without making a single sound. He then focuses on the purple magic shackles binding the group's arms to the dirt floor. With a quick touch, the chains shatter into 1,000 pieces, leaving the prisoner stunned by the ease of his liberation. Completely confused, the rescued man questions why a supposed cruise's henchman is helping the enemy. As he breaks the rest of the chains, our hero cuts the chatter, saying he has neither the time nor the obligation to explain anything, and tells everyone to flee. Finally, the troop of knights stands up, ready to get out of that mess without looking back. With great respect, the entire group bows, thanking the masked man from the bottom of their hearts for his life-saving act. Satisfied with the result, the kid takes a deep breath, decreeing that the hostage problem is solved for good. With a smile under his cloth, the warrior says that now it's time to do the heavy cleanup. Leaving the tent with fire in his eyes, the boy charges the enemy base without mercy. In a burst of speed, the bluish sword slices through several assassins at once, spreading chaos. Amidst the carnage, our MC steps on the bodies, saying it's the perfect moment to take out the trash. Using his full strength, the kid rips the henchman in half, raising a cloud of red in the camp. Meanwhile, Bradley continues to take an absurd beating, trading heavy blows with the green aura boss. Cold as ice, the fifth shadow scoffs that the fight was good entertainment, but he's still unsatisfied. Preparing the final blow, the villain decrees that the little game is over and swears cruises will return to the top of the sword world. But suddenly, the master's eyes widen, sensing a bizarre presence, and he realizes the mysterious intruder has finally arrived. Tearing through the air, our boy leaps onto the battlefield, charging his blade with blue lightning. In a deafening impact, the swords collide, generating a hurricane of green and blue energy that shakes the entire island. Staring down the boss up close, the hero lets out a sigh and calls the guy a complete disappointment to his face. Indignant, the villain snarls, finding it absurd that the maniac who ruined their plans is just a cocky punk. Filled with hatred, the assassin swears he will eliminate the kid personally, no matter the cost. In the background, the teleportation magic circle continues to glow brightly, ready to pull the invaders out. However, the fifth shadow looks around and is shocked to see that the camp is empty. Losing his mind, the masked man yells, asking how the boy had the audacity to annihilate all of his brothers in arms. With a violent shot, the villain promises to rip the Cardana's demon into 1,000 pieces on the battlefield. Assessing the blow's strength, our MC notes that the guy is at a master level and decides to resort to heavy tactics, even if it's risky. Confident in his victory, the enemy brings his sword down hard from above, sending the kid to heck. In the same second, the assassin stammers in terror, not understanding how a punk can summon a perfect aura blade. With a cynical smile, our warrior apologizes and says that his little magic secret is none of anyone's business. Mentally, the hero calculates that he can only maintain the OP aura for 3 minutes and decrees that the fight has to end quickly. Completely crazed, the villain shoots slices of green light, yelling for the kid to just perish already. As he deflects everything with mastery, the boy realizes the leader has completely lost it, making him super easy to read now. In the bizarre opening, our MC advances in the blink of an eye, realizing the door for a counter-attack is wide open. Focused on victory, the hero decides to close the distance, dodging the blows with surgical precision. Suddenly, the villain cracks a psychopathic smile and yells that he's finally caught the rat in his trap. With his blade coated in venom, the assassin reveals that the green goo can take someone out with a single tiny drop. By summoning a venomous snake, the masked man swears the toxin will stop the kid's heart and mana flow. Not caring about the attack, our MC scoffs, thanking him for the detailed explanation and leaving the guy flat-faced. In a demonstration of power, the warrior's blue light simply grinds the venomous snake to dust in mid-air. Desperate, the fifth shadow freaks out, asking why the heck the ultimate venom had no effect at all. Intrigued, our boy wonders mentally if his new mana heart also has a natural resistance to poison. As their swords clash, the hero coldly repeats that the villain is not permitted to know his secrets. Suffering under the weight of the steel, the enemy leader groans in pain, completely losing his footing. Resorting to desperation, the master summons a forest of vines and giant snakes to crush the rookie. The shower of green roots plummets violently, trying to trap the boy on the dry earth by any means necessary. Not understanding, our MC questions if the guy has gone completely mad or thinks that flailing in the dark will solve the problem. In the middle of the magical thicket, the warrior calculates that trying to get close has become a useless waste of time. Spinning his body high, the kid prepares a brutal attack, saying he'll break through the barrier with brute force. Shooting off like a missile, our hero creates an insane blue tornado that rips through the air toward his prey. On impact, the assassin tries to block the energy drill, but ends up retreating and groaning in pain. Gritting his teeth, the boss curses the punk in every way possible, feeling his end knocking at the door. Consumed by fury, the villain promises to drag the kid to heck with him, even if it costs him his own life. In a magical outburst, the venomous roots begin to spin wildly, creating an impenetrable shield. In a tactical analysis, the boy realizes the enemy is pushing his mana beyond its limit, betting all his chips. Following the path in the woods, the hero quickly figures out that the whole light show is just a cheap distraction. Immersed in a blinding blue flash, our MC tells himself to stay calm, as he just needs to slice the target quickly. Focusing every drop of aura directly into the blade's edge, the warrior bets everything on a single, absolutely precise cut. With his sword pulled back, the boy sets up the perfect strike, tearing through the plants as if they were spider webs. In a final charge, the kid shouts confidently that the distance is closed, and the blade will finally reach its target. With a violent crack, the sword hits the villain's defense, generating a deadly spark on the battlefield. But out of nowhere, a purple magic circle sprouts under the hero's feet, activating a paralyzing shock trap. Completely frozen by the magic, the boy's eyes go wide, realizing too late that the coward hit a magical artifact. Grabbing his shirt, the fifth shadow gives a grim smile, stating that the punk was too careless in the end. Laughing in the boy's face, the villain confesses that flinging mana around was just a cheap bait to close the deadly distance. Full of swagger, the assassin decrees that the punk's luck has run out and schedules a meeting straight in heck. With a smirk, our MC retorts bluntly that this trip to the afterlife isn't happening today. Suddenly, the skies glow blood red, and the figure of an imposing warrior rips through the island's clouds. In total panic, the masked man coughs up something, not understanding who the heck appeared out of nowhere to crash the party. In a devastating attack, the big shot declares that the blow is in the name of all the men who fell in battle. Fallen and destroyed, the enemy leader spits something, complaining about the guy's absurd desire to end him. Surprised by the tactic, the hero realizes the villain was so focused on him that he didn't even notice the arrival of Commander Fabian. Landing firmly on the ground, the big guy apologizes for the delay and looks our boy over up close. With great pride, the chief praises the kid's bizarre growth and thanks him for saving Bradley's skin. In the background, the big knight approaches as the commander says there's a pending interrogation. Exhausted after so much fighting, our hero politely asks to catch some sleep before explaining all the gossip. Immediately, the bearded man lets the boy rest, acknowledging his insane effort on the battlefield. Right after, the commander's face hardens, shifting to a brutal, killer intent. Facing the tied-up villain, the master says he's going to start by cleaning up the trash left in the woods. Until the very last second, the masked man grumbles that the war isn't over and forces his own mana to escape. Without a shred of pity, the commander calls the suicidal act an inhuman obsession. With a relentless blow, the big guy decrees that the pathetic little story ends right now. But in a dirty trick, a gigantic light engulfs the area, and the hero is caught completely by surprise. Stunned by the turn of events, Fabian understands that the masked trash's target was always the boy. Grabbing our MC by the shirt, the villain says he'll take the punk with him to the grave if he has to. In a deafening flash, the pillar of energy explodes, and the two vanish from the map in a forced teleport. In a completely different scene, the boy appears unharmed in the middle of a strange village, facing danger. With an absurd blue aura, he tells a beast to shut up, asking if they thought he would tremble before weak trash. Eyeing the threat, our MC notes that giant C-rank lizards are worse than orcs and decides to annihilate them all in one hit. Back on Cardena's island, Bradley laments the rookie's loss, staring at the wreckage of the fight. Blinded by rage, Fabian explains that the mass teleport was only partially activated, hiding the hero's final destination. Feeling guilty for the slip-up, the commander confesses he let his guard down, thinking he himself was the main prize. In a tactical debrief, the chief deduces that the guys from Cruises changed their target at the last minute upon seeing the kid's hidden potential. Frightened by the future, the villains saw our boy as such a colossal threat that they broke their own rules to kidnap him. Recalling the combat, Bradley is shocked at the thought of a mere cadet going head-to-head with a master of transcendence. Confirming the gossip, the commander admits he's never witnessed such frightening growth in the Order's history. Looking to the horizon, the big shot bets that a new legend is being forged in the blood of the Cardenas family. Focused on the rescue, the chief says he will contact the main house, requesting heavy reinforcements immediately. With fire in his eyes, Fabian decrees that the Empire has an obligation to hunt down the boy alive, at any cost. Far away, in the middle of the ocean, our hero floats on a piece of wood, adrift in the violent waves. In the dead of night, the crew of a giant ship spots the kid's unconscious body in the dark sea. Gradually, our MC feels the rocking of the water and the strong smell of the sea, opening his eyes in a strange room. Sitting on the bed, he comes face to face with a mysterious redhead who excitedly celebrates the castaway's awakening. With a stern face, the girl demands answers, saying he owes her his life after the rescue. She then smiles again and introduces herself as Francis, the great captain of the ship Aquamarine. Keeping his cool, our warrior introduces himself, revealing only his first name to the girl. With a firm handshake, he completes his file, saying he's a citizen of the famous Arcadia Empire. Completely in disbelief, the captain jumps out of her chair, asking how the heck he ended up in the middle of nowhere. Not wanting to get into the sad story, the boy shrugs and replies dryly that it was all just an accident along the way. In the kid's mind, the movie of the spatial magic swallowing everything plays, and he finds it bizarre that he survived the chaos intact. Suspicious of the story, the brunette assistant chimes in, asking if the boy isn't from the Cardenas family. During her analysis, the woman notices that the punk's body is too well trained for a common nobody. Confirming her suspicion, our MC smiles, noting that his family's fame has crossed the sea, and admits his lineage on the spot. In the chief's ear, the assistant whispers that getting the ship involved with a runaway noble could be bad for their business. Breaking the tense mood, a sailor bursts through the door, yelling for the captain to run straight to the docks. With something running down his head, the poor guy cries, saying a gang of thugs is tearing everything up outside. Pointing out the leader of the fight, a cocky blonde named Luciano appears, drinking wine and terrorizing the people on the pier. Furious with the cowardice, the brunette curses the bandits for attacking on the very day the council was busy in a meeting. Standing before our MC, Francis apologizes, and the boy notices from her face that the feud here is an old one. With her foot out the door, the redhead lets the guest go, saying he can leave the ship as soon as he feels healed. Leaving a final warning, she points to the corner, showing that his sword and magical items are safely stored. Before the captain disappears, our hero asks the golden question, wanting to know why she saved his life. With a sincere smile, the girl replies that she never abandons anyone who looks like they urgently need help. Watching the girl leave for danger, our MC grumbles mentally that, in the end, she's the one who needs saving the most. Outside at the luxurious port, chaos reigns as the gang intimidates the workers and passengers. Full of himself, the sandal-wearing mobster scoffs at the captain's arrival, sporting a disgusting smile. With sword in hand, the assistant tells the trash to shut up, stating that he's not here for a friendly chat. Feigning offense, the open-shirted blonde lets out an ironic groan, playing the victim in front of everyone. With the utmost arrogance, the bandit warns that whoever draws a blade on him has to face the deadly consequences. Mad with rage, the redhead yells Luciano's name, ready to start an armed war right there on the pier. Dismissing his troops, the cocky guy tells the assistant to lower her weapon, claiming the beef is exclusively for masters to discuss. Up close, the mobster demands that the girl stop the drama and hand over the keys to the Aquamarine ship to him today. Belittling the captain, the guy throws it in her face that the ship is a royal inheritance that's rotting under her command. Without backing down, Francis retorts, stating that their father's passing doesn't give him the right to steal what's left. Firm in her decision, the Harris tells her brother to get out of there, swearing she will never hand over control of the luxurious boat. With his own sword in hand, the coward threatens his sister, telling her to sell the vessel while he's still being peaceful. In the middle of the threat, a mysterious hand grabs the bandit's arm, and something spatters, cutting the aggression off at the root. Suddenly our hero appears, calmly asking if the captain minds if he takes out the inconvenient trash right there. Terrified by the boy's strength, Francis is in shock and begs him not to end her own brother's life on the pyre. Screaming like a madman, the mobster freaks out upon seeing his own severed arm fall to the wooden pyre floor. With his face twisted in hatred, the coward curses everyone, swearing he won't leave anyone alive in that port. At that moment, the thug's henchmen charge our boy, thinking they'll avenge their injured boss. Without losing his cool, our MC dodges the dirty attack from behind in a quick and very fluid movement. In an absurd reflex, his hand stops the extra's weapon before the blade even gets close. Right after, the warrior returns the audacity with a sharp blow straight to the unlucky attacker's face. Down for the count, the bandits eat dust while the captain and her assistant watch the scene, jaws dropped, completely stunned. The redhead confesses she didn't even have time to blink, and already recognizes the insane strength of the Cardenas family. Stepping on the defeated bandit, the kid notes coldly that the scoundrel has already found a magical way to reattach his arm to his body. Nearby, Francis approaches slowly and asks our hero what they should do with the trash left on the floor. In a tense silence, the brunette assistant gulps, showing that the trouble is far from over so easily. Seeing the panicked looks on both their faces, our MC turns his head and asks if a bigger problem came up during the fight. With a heavy sigh, the captain reveals that despite being a thug, the defeated blonde is the illegitimate son of the region's most dangerous boss. With a worried look, the girl tries to explain the gravity of the situation involving the territory of Atlantis. To make the gossip worse, she says that the Maritime Union is governed by an untouchable council that rules all the seas with an iron fist. With a heavy criminal record, the thug's father is one of the 5 most feared big shots on the entire council. Faced with the scolding, our warrior admits that the situation is much thornier than it first appeared. Decided to take on the fight, the boy calls the captain by her name, cutting the funeral, like mood on the deck. Getting straight to the point, the kid offers to act as the redhead's personal bodyguard for an indefinite period. Eyeing the tactical profit, our MC swears he'll stick by her to solve her headaches and take the opportunity to fish for some very valuable information.